We upside down.
We are so talented.
Oh my goodness.
Gonna have to go get Diana for that one. That's not it. Go get Diana. I'll be right back.
Remember what button it is off the top of it.
Mashing buttons, 'cause
You mean
that's
you
how
don't
things like
want to
this
look
happen.
upside down?
Seasick.
Down,
Down.
down.
Got it.
I knew I needed to look at it. So
I couldn't remember the button name, but.
down.
Down.
Yes.
Oh, for Wendy.
Thank you. All right, no worries, we got it. I fixed that. It's pulling in. She'll be here in just a second. She wanted me to get a video started for you, so we didn't have to wait.
Thank you.
Right, well, I'm gonna start the first video for Cammie, and then she should be here in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Josh Bass from Vancouver, Canada. I'm with Keller Williams for 8 years. I've been selling real estate for 18 years. Now I'm going to walk you through my listing presentation, and it's a 3-step process. The first part is preparation, the second part is presentation, and the third part is follow-up. A lot of my listings come by way of referral and repeat. And so when the call comes in and they want me to come over and list their home, I have a conversation about what their needs are. What exactly is it you're looking to do? Are you moving up? Are you moving down? I have them tell me exactly what the reasons are that they're selling for. I get a real sense of what direction that they want to go. One of the things that we've done to make my appointment setting a little easier is we've time blocked. We follow what Gary says. He says time block everything that you do. And we've time blocked our slots in advance for listing appointments. Every day, Monday to Friday, we have a slot available at 4 o'clock and a second slot available at 5:30. So I've got a potential of 10 listing appointments Monday to Friday. That makes my life a lot easier because I'm able to time block my lead generation first thing in the morning and not have my day so loose and scattered. So I'm trying to scramble on where to put a listing appointment. What we do now in our team is we've decided to go paperless with our evaluations, our CMAs. So instead of printing off paper, what we'll do is we'll take it on the computer and convert it to PDF, mark it up with a highlighter from there on the computer, and then create an email from that, email that package off to our client prior to going out to their home to list it. What I do when I go on a listing presentation is I meet the sellers at the door and I have them take me on a tour of the property. During that time, I'm actually asking them to tell me again, to recap again, what their motivation is for selling. So I'm getting them more comfortable with them moving out of their house is what I'm doing. That usually takes about 5 minutes. And when we're done there, we transition right over to the kitchen table. We'll talk about the market, the evaluation itself, and that in itself is about 15 minutes. Once we've agreed upon a price that we're going to list at, we'll sign a listing contract. They sign the initial 3-page contract. They sign the property disclosure statement, and they sign the working with a realtor brochure. Outside of those 3 documents, that's it. I send in my measuring company to come in and measure the home. I send in my stager who's going to contact them to come in and stage the home. And once she's done, then I send in a photographer and take the photos of the home. We always do a follow-up with them as well, just to say, how did that go? What was that experience like for you? Keeps them feeling like they're in control and very much a part of the process. And it lets them know that we're paying attention to every detail on their listing prior to it even being on the market. One of the expectations that I set with the sellers is that I phone them twice a week on purpose. So I set their expectation for me to phone them on Monday mornings with what's called a Monday morning update, where I review everything that's happened for their home over the past weekend with them. The second call that I set them up for to expect is on Fridays, and that's a Friday morning market update. And what I've set them up for is that I'm going to talk to them about any new listings that have hit the market, any expireds that have come off the market, and any solds that have actually just happened since that past week. They also know that on Friday, we're going to be talking about the numbers. Does the current list price that we're at right now still make sense in relation to the latest listings or the most current solds? They know in advance that that conversation could lead to a price reduction. And a lot of times they bring that on themselves. They say, hey, look, you know what? It looks like we might be a bit high, Josh. Should we bring it down? So it's a natural transition to a price reduction. One of the reasons I choose not to do a pre-listing package is when I'm sitting in front of them, I really want their full focus and attention. I want their attention on me, and I want to be able to ask them questions where they're giving me their full attention and not flipping through a pre-listing package. Most of their questions are going to come straight from their gut, and that's really what I'm looking for. I'm Josh Bath, and I just shared my listing presentation with you, and I wish you all the best with yours.
just doing one because she lists some, like she couldn't make it active.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she was out of town, so she didn't be service. And so I got supposed to do it Sunday, and Sunday morning she was still trying to like make it active, and I was like, it's probably not gonna happen. But the other one, only 2 people came, but it's good practice, yeah. But that's because she also didn't like, list that there was an open house until like really, really late that night. Cause like I didn't even see it until the next morning that she'd been there. So like the only reason those 2 people came was because they saw my yard signs. And I was like, oh, whatever, that's a good practice.
All three, I guess.
Someone did the other one. Yeah. So I have, well, I was gonna do 2, but I guess I'm gonna do the other one this weekend, but I don't know, we'll see.
Neighbors or anything?
What?
You're not gonna go?
No. I like saw some of my neighbors, but I was putting up signs. This one, but if I'm doing another one this weekend, I should make those active like at least. So yeah, I can like start it on social media too and stuff. It was 480. The one there that she hasn't made active yet, I don't know, it's in condo. The last time it was listed, it was like 2 something, but I guess they updated it. So the one that I did over the weekend was in Dallas, Northwest Dallas. It was like 5 in the morning. And also like where it was located there, it was like back, and it was like chapel was like here, but then it was like you could like go up the street and go down the street and down the street, and then it was like all the way back here. So it's like, so it's like unless you like put it in your phone or like you're familiar with the area, like yeah. But the other one is on Frankfurt. It's like right by where I live. The people that came, a little bit, but they were already working with an agent too. It was their friend. And they were just kind of like browsing. Yeah, they were a couple working together. And then someone else like came to the open house and like they showed up, whatever, and then they just like left. Like they didn't even come in the door. They like parked right in front. They opened up their doors, like started getting out, and then they just like changed their mind. I was like, okay, never mind.
Don't get it started.
Yeah, they already watched the video.
Good. I'm sorry. Oh, it's a Monday. I should never schedule a class on a Monday. But I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. What y'all think? I'm here. Nice to meet y'all. Nice to meet you. I'm gonna make this fun, not boring. We'll try. I will say. Hi, everybody on Facebook world. I don't know if it maybe one person. Hi, Brooke. Okay, I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning, preparing. I took this class one time and I had a ball. So I thought I would just kind of do exactly what I did last time. Were any of y'all here last time? Were you? No. You were. Okay. Well, it's going to be a little different.
I noticed the handouts were different.
They're very
Last class was
different.
Really good.
I had
So
to
I really
restudy.
too.
I had to restudy. So it was just fine because you know what? It doesn't matter what you do in real estate. You're always learning. always learning. So every contract's different, every listing's different, every personality's different. You just have to change with your people. And so I think that's true in life in general. So, all right. Well, what did y'all think about the video? Any questions?
Feels good.
Video. So, I have been a realtor for 25 years. And my name's Kimmy Hobbs. I'm from Denton. I've lived here my whole life. My mom was a realtor with me for 15 years. She retired 3 years ago. With my dad, she still loves it. I still call her from time to time and say, hey, I need you to write a description because I'm stuck. Even though I have a staff, sometimes you just get those listings that you have that certain person and you're like, I need help. And so she was a writer also for the Denton Record Chronicle on the side. And so she did a great job. And one thing I loved about it is I learned early on in real estate that there's one of you and everybody expects you to be everywhere at every time. And so I just decided that I needed some help early before I even had business. I needed help because I knew if I was going to make this a business and make it a career, that I needed to have help. So I started out, I was a single mom with a baby that was on my hip. He was 1. And I did not, the market was absolutely terrible. I think the interest rates were 7%. And so, but I didn't really even know what an interest rate was. I was just going to sell houses and have fun. And so I went to appointments. I would tell the listings that my client or that my nanny couldn't show up that day because she was sick or whatever. Well, I didn't have a nanny. I was broke. I was eating sandwiches and scraping together just to make ends meet. But you know, if you're determined and you follow the steps, you can make it in this business. And so sometimes you look and you think, how do you get your leads? I mean, I think that was my first question is, where do you get your leads? How do you get your business? And then from there, you just start building on it. So I went to, and they don't have this anymore. I think, I want to say maybe, and don't quote me on this, Gary Keller and Howard Britton may have teamed up or something, but Howard Britton was a conference, and it's kind of like what Bold and Family Reunion is and that kind of thing, but it was before all of that. And what it was a conference that you would go to. It was like a 5-day deal, and you would they would have all the top agents from all over the country. So you'd have Remax, mega agents, and whatever, and they would come in and they'd say, when I go to a listing, this is what I pass out. When I go to a showing, this is what I do. And I absolutely loved that. I thought that was the neatest thing because I took it back. And I remember I came back to the office and I had probably 10 pages of just handwritten notes. And I brought it to my assistant and I said, we're going to do all these things. We're going to do it in the next month. And blah, blah, blah. I was so excited. And she was like, whoa, you can't do that. But I said, yes, we can make this happen. So we just need to create some systems. And so from there, we started creating systems in our office and our team, and there's still systems that we use today. And I think one of the first systems and most important systems is communication with your client. That's the most important because they want to hear from you. And it doesn't matter if it's just, hey, how are you today? Just want to make sure I see you got some listings. I know this is a listings class, but I'm just kind of talking in general over it because I think all of it's helpful. But, you know, follow up and just calling your client and coming up with different scripts and saying things and staying in tune with them to let them know that you're engaged with them. And it's such an easy thing. But I've noticed over the years that with technology has taken over our one-on-one. And I feel like I love technology. I hate it, but I love it. It's okay to learn it and it scares me and then I learn it and I'm loving it. But I also love the touch. I love the card. I love the sending the 7 things every single week to that client and then following up with that client by a personal call. And that is how I get listings. And it is getting that lead and then following up, calling, talking, and doing all of the plans. So we do FISBO plans. I'm going to talk to y'all about how to do your for sale by owners. I'm going to talk to y'all about how to do expires, what you do with those. And I brought Bo in today. He just got his license. I'm so proud of Bo. But Bo's been with us for about 6 months, 7 months or so as an assistant in my office. And he has been doing all of my follow-up, a lot of my follow-up calls, helping me with making sure my clients are massaged. And he's under my wing right now. So I've got him as just shadowing and learning this business and just really trying to cultivate because I need technology this age and he needs my knowledge. So here we go. We're going to just learn all this together. So, but anyway, let's talk about y'all. So tell me your name.
My name's Christina Joss.
Joss?
Joss, yeah,
Joss.
Christina Joss.
My maiden was Jost.
Oh, really?
Yes.
It's JOSS. So it's
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So how long have you been in the business?
Just a few weeks.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to this crazy world.
Thank you.
It's crazy. So, what have you done to get yourself prepared for real estate? I'm putting you totally on the spot, but real estate's on the spot. So.
Yeah. So I have a lot of like background knowledge in different kinds of sales, so I think that kind of helps.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I've just been trying to learn as much as I can, like watching videos and going to the trainings and stuff.
That's great. That's great. And I think, just to hear this class is so powerful because it's real, it's us really doing it, walking, talking it. So I hope that y'all get some stuff out of it. And I brought some pamphlets and we'll go over that too. So welcome.
Thank you.
Tell me your name.
Sumit Narwal.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And how long have you been in the business?
I just got my key last week.
Good.
Yeah, just try to be your.
Now, why did you decide to get into real estate?
Oh, just flexibility, money,
Yes.
independence.
That's good. That's good. Now, let me tell you a little story about flexibility. And I'm all over the place, but in real estate you are. Saturday, I went to the OU game. I'm a Boomer Sooner fan, big time. My stepson was a roughneck, so we were there. And so 5 minutes into the game, we're about to throw up, then we're losing and I'm dying. And so about the first quarter, I walked downstairs. Well, I had somebody who's blowing my phone up. I have a listing that my clients, they moved out of state. And so as a realtor, we don't have to stage a house. We don't have to clean closets and mop floors and clean windows and things of that nature. But, sometimes our clients just don't leave their house in the most pristine order. So I have this house that's listed and it's a nice house. It's 650,000. Nice neighborhood and I love the neighborhood. I've worked the neighborhood a lot. And they had their house in contract and my mother-in-law, not my mom, but my mother-in-law just passed away. We just had her funeral last Tuesday. But anyway, the last month of my life has been literally the things that I usually do. They're kind of, there's the extra touch did not get done. It was the concrete stuff that I had to do got done, but going and walking a property and make sure everything was good was not on my agenda. So anyway, the last 2 weeks I have not walked that property. Well, the inspector came in and he went a week ago and opened up the attic. Well, when he left, some of the insulation came down. So I didn't know that. The house hadn't shown since it was inspected and the house fell, the buyer backed out of the contract. So I am getting blown up by this man. I mean, I'm talking like you just thought it was a death. So I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to go check on this client, so I leave the game, walk downstairs, and I called him and I said, what's happening? What's going on? Are you okay? And he said, I'm so upset. And I said, what's wrong? And he said, there's insulation all over the floor. I said, send me a picture. And y'all, it was like 4 pieces. I mean, it was like no big deal, but it was important to him. And I had told him when I listed the property, I would watch the property. So there's when you and you're everybody in this room's gonna ride through a crossroads like that. You can take it and take the high road and go one way, or you can say, hey, that is not my responsibility. You need to have somebody watch your house. It's your house. You're selling your house. Get over there and deal with your house, or you can do what we're supposed to do and say, you know what, hey, this is the situation. I'm so sorry. And that's what I did. I took it. And so he said, I want you to come right now in my house. I'm in downtown Dallas with my family. And I said, okay, well, this is the deal. Because you also have to set boundaries with your clients. You really do. And you have to set them in a way where at the end of the day, your client is still gonna love you. And so we're gonna talk about personality in this class and how to deal with personalities, because communication, follow-up, personality, listing presentation, all of those things are so important in this business. So I told him, I said, you know what, I will be there 8 o'clock in the morning. And I was yesterday morning out of bed like this at his house. But he calmed down and he had been driving, he was tired, it was hot. Weather will affect people's personality. If it's hot, do not talk to them in the evening if they're mad. Wait till the next day, wait till the next morning. It's always better. I'm a believer in God. I'm a believer, but there's something about a full moon, and I'm telling you, if there's a full moon, you're gonna have crazies are gonna come out. Also, if you're planning a trip, if your business is low, plan a trip somewhere because you're gonna get busy and you're gonna have a lot of business. It happens. That's just the way this business works. So you'll never get a vacation again. I'm sorry to say, but it's okay because you will, because you can work from your cell phone because you have technology. So welcome, and it's nice to meet you. And I didn't mean to give you a scare story,
That's fine.
but you do have freedom. You do have freedom. I've been able to do all of my kids' events, and it's been very rewarding for myself and my family. It's been tough. It's a struggle. I work all the time, but it's a good career. We love it. We love what we do for our clients. So if y'all need anything, always come. We'll be glad to help y'all right here in this building. Tell me your name. I know you from.
I'm Jenny.
Jenny, have
Jenny
I met you
Olson.
before?
I don't think
You look
so.
so familiar to me.
I'm actually, I'll have 2 years on November 9th. So I can concur to everything you've said so far. The true story, I was going on, my son got married a week ago Friday. So we were going out of town and I got 3 people under contract right before I left. So I was working the entire time.
The whole time.
Yeah,
And then
it
you got your
happens.
option and your inspection and oh my goodness.
Yes,
It just
So-
always is like that.
it is.
It
On a
is.
vacation and write it down. That was the other thing I did about a month before we left. I was like, hey, I want to have 2 people under contract before I leave. And I
Yeah.
have 3.
Yay.
So,
So you did your goal.
but I will say the first year for me sucked. So hang in there.
Just keep on
It
going.
just was awful. My first year was awful. So it gets better. We
It
just gotta
does.
keep doing it. And then all of a sudden, and I'm probably 95% referrals.
Are you really?
Yeah.
That is so good.
Yeah.
I wish I was. I'm not. I'm not. And you
But
would
I'm not
think I
producing at your
am.
level either. Let's
You would think I am, but yeah, a lot of my people, my friends are in real estate, but I just prospect, but I do a lot, and I'm not just because I do a lot of prospecting. I do a ton of prospecting, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm not, but I do get referrals, but
Yeah.
that is something to say, if you get referrals from schools, nail salon, wherever. I mean, we always tell people 5 by 5 by 5, 5 calls a day, 5 times a day, nail salon, grocery store, have that badge on, pass your card out, have your card, because I'm telling you, if you talk to 2 people, one of the 2's gonna know somebody. Another thing is your lender. I try to educate my lender to say, hey, you know, we've got you as a buyer now. Kimmy's a great realtor. You've got 30 days to find somebody who wants to sell or buy. And he reminds them through the whole process. Who do you know? Who do you know? And he's helping me too get leads for our office. And so then at the end, he'll say, remember when we first met, I told you that Kimmy needed a lead by the end of this if she did a good job. Did she do a good job? Yes. Okay, where's our lead? You know, and he reminds them through the process. So it's a great, talk to your lender about, hey, please talk to this client about getting me a lead through the deal. That's just another little freebie, a free way to get leads. So lots of little things that we do to get little nuggets. Okay, and you were in my last class.
I led you last.
Thank you for coming back.
I enjoyed your class last time.
Oh, good. Well, it's gonna be a little, the whole agenda is different. I mean, but I'm gonna do a lot of the same stuff, but.
I'm
so-
okay with that too.
Okay.
It was a little overwhelming the first week doing all this anyway, so.
And I talk fast, and I'm gonna try to talk slow, so. Okay, good. Well, welcome back. Tell me about you.
I'm Rebecca Miller. I've been here for 2 weeks. I got my license in May. And so I started over at Century 21. I was there for 4 months, but I wasn't getting what I wanted out of the training or anything. So didn't get a mentor, and so I heard great things about here. And so I've already gotten more here.
Isn't that
And that's what I
great?
keep telling everybody. I've already gotten more here than I got up there in 4 months.
You know, I was independent for 20 years. I started the realty team here in Denton with Scott Brown. And love him. He's one of my best friends. And I did good. I was a top producer. I went up against Jimmy McKissick when I started, Jimmy and Linda and I. I mean, they would get a listing, I'd get a listing, they'd get a listing, and that was my goal. They were my goal. Jimmy and Linda were my goal. And I told Jimmy one day when we were meeting here in the office about doing something, I said, you know, I'd go in behind you, I always did. He said, well, I want to be first. I said, well, I want to be second. So I could come in and bring my little camera in because he knows my son. My son's 24 now, 25. And I could bring him in and go, you know, they have a lot of listings and I'm getting started, but I'm really good. I'm gonna do a good job. I've got this baby. And I said, I would just put it on and get that listing for y'all. He just thought that was so funny. But you did. I mean, I love them. We were friendly competitors. And then Jimmy and Linda moved on, and then it was Brad. And so sometimes I'd go, Brad would get it, then I'd get it, and then Brad gets it. And we still are like that, you know, it's just fun. I love challenges, so it's fun. But don't give up. Just don't give up. And there, you know, our office is here. We're on the second floor of the next building. So if you ever need anything, my staff's there always. I mean, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5:36, sometimes 8. A lot of times I'm the last one in the parking lot. I did have to get a pistol this year, y'all. I'm listing a lot of lower end stuff. And I'll tell y'all my pistol story before the day's over. Y'all remind me, but it was pretty funny. Nothing happened bad, but anyways, just don't give up on it. It'll happen. And if you need any help, everybody here has been so great. When I came to Keller Williams a year and a half ago, my production quadrupled, and I'm talking like quadrupled. So I have been the top producer here since I came, and it's just I'm not here to blow my horn. I'm just here to say how I did it, and I want to get y'all there. So I'm going to show y'all some things. So when we'll just start, and Brooke, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me? Oh, she's on mute.
Yes, I can.
Okay. How long have you been in the business?
I just got past my 30-day mark.
Yay. Congratulations. Why did you decide to get in the business?
We were living in PA for 3 years. We're both from Texas, me and my husband, and we didn't really know what just with kind of his nature of his job, where we'd be and whatnot, and relocating. And this definitely gives me the freedom to work from wherever. And I just love helping people and whatnot.
That is so true. Well, welcome, Brooke. You know, helping people is what it's about. And sometimes it's, you know, there are agents out there that'll say, I'm not going to cut my commission. I'm not going to do those things, but sometimes you have to. You just have to, because it'll come back. I have a listing. I'm also licensed in Oklahoma, and I've given away so much commission, I could probably retire in 25 years. But I also, there's times where you just make a phone call, and my father, I call him my father-in-law, he's my ex-father-in-law from when I first started in the business, but his name's Don, and he's my Oklahoma broker still. And we were having lunch last week, and I said, you know, we're going to show a ranch, a 1,300 acre ranch tomorrow at 2 o'clock. And all I did was get a phone call, make a phone call to him. It's a cash buyer, and the guy's made offers on 5 properties and lost out. This guy's gonna love this property. It's right across the border and it's not listed, and I know he'll make an offer. I just know. So I told Dawn, I said, oh my gosh, I said, we're all gonna make a ton of money. And all I did was make a phone call. I mean, this is insane, like insane. And he said, Kimmy, he said, you know, those times you gave away your commission? And he looked at me and he said, let me tell you something. He said, this is when you make it up, number one. And number two, he said, it's your knowledge. It's taken there's 4 realtors involved. So it took me to make the pie here, to make the pie here, to make the pie here. And if any 4 of those realtors hadn't been in the equation, this deal would not have come together. So the seller, you know, he has to realize that it was a pie that made it come together. I thought, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known that for 25 years. I probably wouldn't have given so much commission away. I'm going to use that line. So you're always learning in real estate. You know, it takes my knowledge to get you to the finish line, because you need my knowledge to list this property and get it done. So anyway, here we are. Okay, so one more thing that doesn't have to do with listings, but I always bring it to my class because I think it's so important. Leads. Everybody wants to know about how to get leads. That's like number one on everybody's plate, mine too. It really is, because you want business, and there's enough business to go around. I will make y'all copies of this, but this is a sheet and it's who I already know. And I think it's in this book, I think. If you don't have it, let me know, I'll make you copies. But some of the stuff you don't know, but you may not know an answer to. But I mean, it's just things like who cleans your carpet, who does your windows, things like that. So if you can call them and say, hey, I just got into business, I would love to get your name, your number, your email address. And you know, hey, just throw me one person. Do you know anybody who's thinking of buying or selling? Just one person. Okay, you don't. Okay, it's okay. Well, I'm doing a challenge at my office, and I'd like to, I'm trying to see who can get the most email addresses. I really want to win. It's just not going to be forever. Would there be any way that I could get your email address? Because you really want to start your database. And my mom was a buyer's agent for me, and she would send a postcard every single month, snail mail, every single month to the same people every single month. And she would always get one buyer or one seller right after that postcard, always. And it was the same people. But then we'd also get filtering phone calls in 3 months. Hey, Pam, how are you doing? Are you still selling real estate? My son's thinking of selling or buying. So if you will be consistent with that list and do it, and it's hard. I mean, I do 7 cards when I list a property. I do 7 cards, or when I'm previewing, and then I go to prospect, and I'll go through that. I send out 7 cards. We should have brought those up here to show them. But anyway, so it's just a process, and you want to make sure you keep it in front of them. Keep it in front of them. So many times I'll go to the house and preview for sale by owner, and they've already received my just listed or my preview card that I've sent out 2 days before, and we'll say, oh, is this your card? And I'm like, absolutely, I'm on top of it. I'm here to list your house. And they'll say, well, we're for sale by owner. We're not going to list. We're not going to use a realtor. They always say no. They always say no. No matter what, we're not going to list. And I don't take no. I take that as a yes. I take that as a, I'm going to break through your no, and I'm going to make you're going to sell this house with me. So, we'll go through that. Here we go. So I'm going to start with a listing packet. I think that is the most imperative thing here. So when you have a for sale by owner, let's just say you get a for sale by owner and you're driving down the road and you see a for sale by owner and it's a sign. What I do is I write down the phone number and or you go to Zillow, and you find a for sale by owner. And I call the for sale by owner. And this is how my script typically goes. I will say, this is Kami. I was driving down 121 Ridgecrest Street and I noticed your house was for sale and I'd love to come preview your property. And they'll say, are you a realtor? That's the first thing they say. And I typically say, and I've said this for 25 years, so I could just put it off my tongue. Yes, I am a realtor. However, in my office, we have lots of agents. I'm with Keller Williams right down the road, and I know you've been contacted by a million agents, and I talk very fast because they want you off the phone and they will hang up on you. So you have to get them on and get them off in a certain frame. And if you keep them on too long and you start going through all these questions, they're just you've lost them. You want to get in the house. That's the main thing. Your goal is to get in front of them and then sell yourself. So my goal is to get them on the phone, get an appointment, get in the door, whatever I have to do. So I'll say, I'd just love to preview your property. And they'll say, well, we're not going to list with an agent. That is totally okay. All I want to do is just walk through because I have a ton of buyers. I'm doing a lot of marketing on Zillow, TroyDaleRealtor.com, Keller Williams. We service over 3 million people that come in and we get a lot of leads that way. And so I just have a ton of buyers, but I need to see your house, feel it, touch it so that I can go back to my office meeting and I can tell everybody about your property. And so most of the time they'll say, okay, I guess you can do that, but I really don't want to list. I mean, they'll say it 3 or 4 times. And I'll say, okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. What time can I come? Can I come tomorrow at 1, 2, 3, whatever, make the appointment. And then typically I will try to get their email address. If I have their email address, I'll call Bo and I'll say, Bo, I want you to send out my marketing. So I have a pre-made marketing packet on my email and it's my marketing. It goes out to them onto their email. So they've gotten one thing from me before I get there. That's what we try to do. If we have an email address, send them marketing. If not, they get it right after I leave their appointment. So we do that. Then I go to the appointment. So when I get to the appointment, these people are not expecting this at all. So when I show up to the appointment, it's very, it depends on their personality. Okay, so if it's engineer, he has his shoes off, I take note of that. If the shoes are off, my shoes are off and I'm, stepping in and taking my shoes off. I just, if they have a cat, I'm allergic to cats. I love that cat. That cat's the best cat I've ever seen in my life. And I start talking about their cat. I start talking about their decorations. I start talking about, that's how I start the conversation. So I try to just peel that information out of them. So, hey, how are you today? Thank you so much for letting me come. I just wanted to walk through your property. Before I walk up to the doors, I have my listing packet. In this listing packet, I will take out, we don't have one of those cover sheets, do we? The check
I
sheet.
took it out.
You might get me one because I want to show them.
Do you want me to bring everything for that?
Yeah, just that and maybe grab those listing cards. So I want to show them those too. Make 5 copies of that listing sheet.
Okay.
If you don't mind, 6, so I can have one too. So I
The
don't
new
know.
listing form?
Yeah, I want to show them because that's going to help them with their listing presentation. Sorry, I thought I had it in my packet. I take that listing sheet out, but in my listing packet, I don't take all of this out because this would freak them out when I walk up to the door because they have already told me 10 times they don't want to list. So I usually have just my listing sheet, and on my listing sheet it has their name, their phone number, their email address, the questions that I need to ask them. So we'll walk through and we're walking and I'm just like, well, so where y'all moving? And they'll tell me, and I start engaging in their conversation. As we walk through the rooms, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the coolest coffee table I've ever seen. Where'd you get it? Which it usually is. I won't say it if I don't mean it, but and I just really try to feel where they are and let them feel comfortable with me, because what I've found is agents will call these people and literally they'll scare them to death. They'll be mean to them. Agents, especially from, I always say from across the lake, but they'll be like, well, you need a realtor. You know, you just have to have a realtor. You're never gonna sell your house. They tell these people these things. I went to a listing in Highland Village a month ago and they had a book, and it was a Keller Williams agent. He had left written a book, why you need to list with a realtor, and left it in that house. And they were so mad. They said, take this book. I said, I'm gonna read it cover to cover. I mean, my gosh, it was crazy. I couldn't believe it. He did that, but it just made him mad. And so you want positive flow when you're in there. So it's a great house. Oh my gosh, did y'all build this yourself? You know, just come up with the world when you're there and try to ask them all those questions. If they have a kid, you know, talk to their children. Oh, is this your room? You're keeping it so clean. I love that, you know, and I try to get on their level and just, you know, really engage with their children. That's so important. People love that. They don't get that. We don't get that in this world anymore, that touchy-feely feeling. It's such a technical, and I love technology, but I'm not on it today because I've had problems with my iPad this morning. But it just, you know, it's just everybody's just not touchy-feely, and we need that. We need that at times. So that's important. Then we go through the whole property, and then I'll say, okay, well, I know you're not ready to list. I get it, but I would love to I brought you some goodies. And they'll think, oh, and they always go, they're taken back. Like, you brought me a gift. I'm like, yeah, I brought you some stuff that'll help you sell by owner. And they're shocked, literally shocked, that I brought them stuff to help them sell by owner, and I'm not asking for a listing. But you know, 75%, well, I don't know if that's now with Zillow, I don't know if that's the average, so don't quote me, but used to be 75% of people will end up listing if they're for sale by owner. So that's why it's so important to follow up, take your listing packet, and things like that. So I will just walk up to their counter. Sometimes it's at the bar. Sometimes they'll have me sit down. If they say sit down, they sit down, I sit down. If they go up to the bar, they're in a hurry, I'll do it at the bar, and I'll be in a hurry with them. But I just kind of follow and read them, because that's so important to follow and read. I'm sorry, Brooke, I keep forgetting you're watching me, so I hope you can see that. Okay, so then, oh yeah, thank you. I will. This is kind of out of order. I usually keep all my listing packets. I keep all of this stuff to list on the back part, because I don't want to be thumbing through my listing paperwork in front of them. So I put that on the back. It's very important that you set your folder up a certain way, especially for preview, because you don't want to lose them at all. So
If you are going to Disco and taking your listing packet and giving them stuff out of contributions, you have to buy yes also. What if they won't sign it? You just have to have.
I just make note, I'll put a date, and put refuse to sign.
Okay.
And then I just put it in my file, just so I have it.
Okay. Because I know people are like, that's a contract.
Sometimes I don't. Rebecca gets very mad at me because if I can tell they're like,
Really not going to.
I won't even, which is not right. But you know,
Yeah.
you just have to be careful. You just have to watch your situation.
Okay.
You're supposed to. I try really hard. So, hey, this is just information about birth.
No, because they're like, I'm not signing anything. You might be tricky here.
It's tough. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Okay. So, all right, this is a client that I'm listing. Oh, y'all, this is what I'm about to list. Okay, so, all right, so I walk up and I have my folder. This is my little sheet, and I'm taking notes on the back of my sheet, so that whenever I bring it back in the office, I bring all of my stuff, my notes, and so on one piece of paper. We're still a paper people. I'm so sorry, but I've done it this way, so it works. And I'm like, if this works, I'll fix it. We have follow-up boss and things like that. We put all these notes in, so we have it in our system. But I still keep this piece of paper because I've written notes. So if I'm walking through the property and it has, and my notes are terrible. They always back up and they're like, I can't read your notes. Well, people are talking to me, so I'm just like jotting down stuff. So if they say, oh, that mantle right there, my dad made, if they mention it, I write down mantle dad made, and I put a big star beside it. And then, excuse me, when I come back to the office, I'll say, that mantle, they mentioned it, has, if they know, if it has a star, we mentioned it in the description, because it was important to them, for them to say. Okay, so I write all the notes down. I say, right, so I'm sitting in the kitchen, and I'm like, thank you so much, I brought y'all some goodies. And they're like, oh, goodies, and I'm like, yes, stuff that'll help you sell your property. And so in this packet I brought you is just a seller's disclosure. If you don't have that yet, and they'll say, yes, we got it from the title company. I'm like, great. You're probably gonna need an extra copy, especially if you think you sell your property and then it backs out. They back out, you're gonna need another copy. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, they're gonna do probably an option period. So I start overwhelming them with a lot of information they have no clue about because they're clueless and they all think they know how to do it 100% better than me. So I'll say, well, you're gonna need another copy because, you know, someone can come through here and say they're gonna write and then they're not gonna come back and then they're gonna lose it. Or, you know, it's really good to have a blank copy. It's just, there might be something on here that breaks, your hot water heater might leak and you need to change it. Just, you're gonna need an extra copy. So I'm gonna get, oh, thank you. They're just like so excited that I brought them an extra copy of a copy. I mean, it's so easy and cheap to do. So I do that. And then I also say, I also go into this, and I'll say, I also have a T47. Now, do you have your survey? And they'll say, yeah, well, I'm not sure. And I'll say, okay, do you have your closing package? When you closed on your property, it'll be in the back of that package. So it's in the back. If you want to get it, I'll pull it out for you and I'll help you with this. And they're like, sometimes they'll say, oh, that's great. Or I'll say, or if you do list, I'll help you fill this out because this is going to save you money with your buyer. And there's a certain way to negotiate this. I have allergies, y'all. Probably I'm going to have had the shot. So, but,
I've had it, so I'm not worried about it.
thank you.
Been there, done that.
I've had it too. It's awesome. But anyway, so you know, I try to say, you know, this is very an overwhelming form, but it will save you money on your survey. If you have your survey, I can help negotiate that for you if you do decide to list. So this is the T47, and so call me if y'all need any help with this. But I'll give you this, and this is your form. And then I'll go back, then I'll go on into this. Now, I have a couple candy forms. I'm gonna leave you too. This is my goodie part of this presentation. And I'll say, you know, I've been in the business for a very long time, and I've learned that buyers need certain information. And so one of the things I always do when I take a listing is I will ask for the current utilities. And so on this candy sheet, this is, here's your electric provider, gas, water, sewer, trash. And then I'll say, and when's trash day? I said, because at the end of the deal, I don't want y'all to be moved. And then I'm calling you saying, when's trash day? So I'm already assuming that them already have the listing and it's just a FISBO appointment. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. They always say that when I get to the trash thing. So it's just giving them value, just value. What can you do? So I try to do as much value as I can on that appointment. Just, I'm your hero. I'm your guardian angel. I'm going to take care of you. I'm your hand. I'm going to make this a smooth transaction and you're not going to have to worry. I'm the one that puts the pieces together. I get it from point A. And then the last thing is my candy form, the top 5 things you like about your home. I've used this for a very long time, but I tell them at this point, this is like the most important piece of paper when I list a property that I have. in my opinion, because this is how I write a story about your home. And all of your properties, all my properties are gonna go on Zillow and all of the number one sites. Our relocation sites, all of that, being at Keller Williams, we're the top company in the world, the nation. And so therefore our properties get the most exposure, and our realtors show each other's listings first. So you're gonna get more exposure than you would with anybody, any independent agent. But you're also gonna get exposure off of the story that I create off of your home. This is how my staff is gonna create the story, as well as pictures that we get, that we take, our professional photographer that comes out and takes your picture. Now, on this form, it's also gonna be in your house, because I still do things the old fashioned way. And so when I list a property, I still do a graphic, which is a picture of the property. And in that graphic packet, I'm putting attached these two forms, the things you like about your home, because this is the seller's way to talk to that client without being there. And so I say that at the listing appointment, I also say at the physical appointment. This is your way to be at the house without being there. So I'm telling them, don't be at the house. Like, that's what that means. Don't be there. So that's the nice way of saying, don't be there. And then I go through that. And then I'll say, so you know what, I'm here for you. If y'all need me, I'm here. Call me if y'all need anything. And I thank you so much. I'm gonna go back to the office. I'm gonna talk to all my agents about your property, and we're going to try really, really hard to sell your property. So if y'all get into buying, call my office. We've got staff. And I would just say, you know, starting out, you can build on us. You know, we've got the number one company in Denton. We've got agents here at the Denton office that we all want to sell each other's properties. In fact, that's something I need to talk to Jesse about, how we could get our properties out, you know, like new listings. I think that's something important. But, you know, we all want to help each other out. But since we're the biggest in Denton, build off that. We've got agents here that are going to help me. I'm going to, I would also say, people love open houses. They love it, but that's a great way for you to get business. Great, great way. Kelly Lane, in my office, she's a buyer's agent. She did an open house for me. She's been a buyer's agent, what, 6 months or so, I guess. Anyway, her first open house, $1 million buyer, million, sold it, and I got a listing on Ganser Road in one open house. So open houses work. I mean, now we did one this Saturday. We had 5 through, and they were just neighbors, but there was a lot going on around here this weekend. So if it's a Cowboy game, don't do an open house. If it's if there's the Texas rivalry, don't do an open house. But if there's Cowboy game, don't do it. It never works. But open houses do work, and they do bring buyers. So put them on Zillow, get them out there. Y'all have any questions at this point of anything so far?
Are you specifically, you list more than help buyers?
I do work some buyers. Bo helps me with my buyers. So I have how many buyers right now when I'm working? By 30. I have about 30 buyers right now when I'm working actively. So what that means is Bo every day goes through the MLS for me, makes sure they're opening their searches, calls them, hey, you got to search, because just like Shirley got one, she hadn't opened her search. Did you see that?
Yeah.
This morning, like he'll see it, and we'll say, if he sees that they're not opening, he'll call and say, hey, y'all got a search, open this, see if there's anything you like, or, I have to have help to be my second set of eyes, because I'm out in the field, I'm in my car all day. So I have to have somebody in front of the computer as an assistant to me, watching my buyers, making sure they're opening the search once I set them up. And then once we hook them, then I either get them to an agent, or if it's a referral, if it's somebody like a friend of mine that wants me only, then I'll go. Or if it's something that's a commercial or something that only I can handle, then I'll do that. But
No commercial. Talk to you after this.
yeah, Chris Rosberg and I work together.
Well, he's out.
I know.
So
I
I've
can
been
help you.
trying to get help on a
Yes.
commercial, and
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm
I'll help you.
stuck.
I'll help you. Yes. Okay, so did the FISBO, so then I come back to the office. This is when the work begins, the FISBO work begins. So I get back to the office and I have this sheet that I gave you. And so we don't, all of these things are when we get a listing, so I'll go through that. in a minute. We have an old timey blue, what is it called? Tickler file that we put this in, what is it called?
Oh, accordion.
Accordion file, seriously, but it works, and that's where these guys, so we can find them, because we put their name and their number into our follow-up box, is the system that I use, and then my assistant will call and thank them for letting me come out and preview their properties. The next day, they get a phone call. Thanks for letting me come by and walk your property. If y'all need any help, we're here to help you. Then that same day that I previewed the property, or the next day, they get a personal thank you note from me, handwritten. Thank you so much for letting me preview your property. If y'all need anything, let me know. It has my business card in it, and they get that in the mail from me. Then, do we have these on this plans? Or is this just expired? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so then we start this PK system. And I'll pass these around so y'all can look at it, but we do week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so the first one is find the buyer of your dreams. And it's just a little card that has a picture on it, no big deal, but it's just something, because they're gonna hold it for 5 seconds and throw it away. But they've already met me and I came through, so they'll go, oh, well, that's cool, so we hope. Sometimes they'll probably like this girl for me out. Then week 2, they get another card. It's time to get back on the market. And all these cards you can find on always Canva.
Yeah, Canva, Mr. Brent, I
Well, no, the Keller Williams
don't know,
designs. You can print them in 5 seconds. You can just make these really quick. They're easy. They're very user friendly. Okay, then week 3, don't let opportunities slip away. Which we change these up from time to time, but for the most part, they're the same thing. And then week 4, ready to get back on the market. And then there's that. That would be an expired one. Then the last one is my favorite one. I created this 20 years ago, and I'm still doing it. It's my favorite card. Okay. Stick in my face. It says, stick in my face, then hire me to sell your home, and you'll be out of town in no time. So that's what they get. After that, I picked them, so they're and they've also received they've received a thank you note handwritten. So that's 5, 6 touches. They've received a call from me. They've received a call and a preview. They've received a call from my office staff. They've also received a thank you card in this. That's what it takes. You have to be persistent, or you will not get it in this market. You have to call them. You have to touch them. You have to touch them, follow up, touch and follow. So put them in your database, call them every week, call them. And if you don't, somebody else is going to grab them. They're going to know somebody, or they're going to grab them. So that's what I do. And usually, if they're ready to list within 2 or 3 cards, you're going to get them and call them and stuff. You'll get them. So that's that. Now, do y'all have any questions? Do y'all need a break? Anybody need a break?
I'm good.
You're good?
If they contact you and they're kind of like, please quit contacting me, obviously stop.
We stop.
Does that
We
happen
stop.
very often?
Not much.
Okay.
Not much at all. No, they really don't. I have been on the well, I've been working, but I've been kind of back and forth from Oklahoma City Hospital for a month, and I have about 150 calls I have to make. It's on my bucket. That's looking me in the head this week. So I've been thinking, oh gosh, how am I gonna get all these people called? Because I mean, they're like expired for some of my owners. People have prospected for 2, 3 years. I've prospected people for 7 years, and then they end up listing. I just stay on it. After the month, then I go to like calling them every 2, 3 weeks, and then once a month, because they're not in that much of a hurry. Sometimes they'll say, hey, we're not ready till spring, but I'll put them on January 1st. I used to go to Phoenix my husband would play golf there, and I would go and just get a hotel room and just make all my power calls for the first of the year. January 1, 2, 3, just get through them, just because I wanted to get through them, and I would end up, that's how I would start my year off, just powering through my database. And so the database is so powerful. It's so strong and it works. And that's really the only way to do that. Also in my listing packet, and I would encourage y'all to do this too. And I've got some notes on this too. I'll probably repeat myself on it, but, oh, this is another value. It was on the wrong side. This is also in y'all's book. There's different ways to help your home stage, get it ready, things like that. Pull those things off of the bold, or what, where did you go to get that handout?
67 ways.
Not that, no, that one that I wanted you to print off command this morning. Did you find that? Oh, it did.
Yeah,
Oh,
or
great.
it needs ink and it won't print out another ink cartridge.
Okay,
Yeah, no, Dee's got it.
good. I had one print out for y'all that wasn't what I have, but anyway, it's in my book and I'll show y'all. But anyway, value, added value, this goes with the listing. And then, Katie's Elite Real Estate Group, in this is my little why choose Tammy, but y'all can make your own. And I brought 2 different ones to show you. So I think y'all may have gotten these. I'll give y'all these. Okay, so in this, I just kind of tell them, hey, if y'all have insomnia tonight, read about me and my team, but there's really good stuff in here that y'all might want to see. Why I choose my group as a realtor, and I usually do this more towards the listing. Sometimes I'll say it at the FISBO appointment. I don't do it if they're in a hurry. If they're in a hurry, this doesn't even get touched. I'll just say, hey, if you can't sleep tonight, read this stuff, it's good, and I'll be done. But if they're like really, I can tell they are really engaged, I'll say, and I'll hit some of the highlights. Done this forever. I would love to be a realtor. I've got a team. We're going to take care of you. We're going to advertise your property. We send just listed cards. So then I'll go through my marketing plan with them. And so I'll tell you a little bit about my marketing plan. So we do for sale signs. We do newsletters. We have set up everybody on smart plan. So our buyer has a buyer smart plan. Every buyer that we get gets a buyer smart plan. And every seller that we get gets a seller smart plan. If we have an email address, we do a FISBO smart plan. And we've just kind of copied and pasted these smart plans. And I know starting out as a realtor here, it is 100% overwhelming because there's so much that you have to do. You don't have to do it, but just get set up. And so if I had to do a smart plan myself, I would be lost. Thank God for Bo. Thank God for Bo. But he went and met with, Diana, and she taught it in a day, and he learned how to do it. So it's not difficult. It's just easier for younger people, I think. But there are Nick Baldwin. He is a Keller Williams agent. He has a ton of smart plans that are already created. So all you have to do is go in there and just change out your face and use his. He doesn't care. Any of those that are out there on the command system, use them.
What was his name?
Nick Baldwin, NICKBALDWIN. He's got great smart plans. Great ones. Have you seen any other ones that were really good smart plans?
There's one that's like a buyer buying 6 to 9 months away, seller selling 6 to 9 months away. Those are really good because their touches like 2 weeks to a month apart, all the way up to like they're ready to list. There's a bunch of good ones in there.
And that's in the command system.
Yeah.
Right. So walk us through like doing a FISBO.
FISBO smart plan.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
So
Like I come back, bring the folder, and then you set them up. So how do you do that?
well, the smart plan's kind of integrated into the way that we follow up, but the FISBO, like the FISBO smart plan that's in command, is not as much like you contacting them. It's like giving them information that will make them want to list.
Got it.
It's like more like graphics, data, monthly neighborhood update, you know, that kind of stuff. It's more like market data.
It's just a touch to their email, basically. And that hits what, once every month or?
Once a month, and then it puts them on the monthly neighborhood update, and that's a once-a-month thing. And then, you know,
What is
we'll
that?
we'll send them the,
Is that, explain what the monthly,
it sends them
Okay.
what their home is worth and
What's the
houses
last in the
houses that are
neighborhood?
sold around them.
okay. So that's a really good thing. It's just a good free way to touch your client. Set them up on this command and it's a market update and they're all on command. So they're good. And it's just it's a great way. I'm all about the free stuff so much because you can spend a ton of money on advertising. So we have all of that stuff at our fingertips right here at Keller Williams, all of it. So that's what I love about all of the being on top with a company like this, because I was independent. I didn't have these tools. I had to create this stuff. I had to go to a printer and didn't and go, well, I'm looking for something and da da da. Now it's just so easy because we can just go in there and they can do it. Okay, we send also just listed cards, just sold cards, and I'll come and tell you all about that since we're on this page. So I do have an ISA out of, and it's a lady named Lynn. She's in the Philippines. And so she helps me with some of my for sale by owner calls because there's usually so many of them. And so she'll just call and try to help me get my leads in check. And you know, I may get 2 or 3 from her a month, if that, maybe. Sometimes I don't get any, but anyway, what we do is we'll send a just listed card and she calls everybody in the neighborhood and just says, hey, I'm with Candy's office. Just want to let you know she just listed a property in your neighborhood. Are y'all thinking of buying and selling? And because you can a lot of times get listings from the neighbors, a lot of times. So it's really good if you list a property to go maybe to pass out a flyer. Just, it's so pretty now. Just walk in and knock on the door and just, hey, I just listed your neighbor's house. If you know anybody, get to know your neighbor. Here's my card. I'd love to help you. You'll be surprised at the people that will say, oh my gosh, we're thinking of selling. Oh, well, can I preview? I'd love to see your home. Let me do a market analysis. I'll bring it back, you know, something like that. And then once we sell the property, we send a just sold card. And then we're calling the same people again. Can we sold it already? Da, da, da. So just that kind of thing, just following up with that neighborhood. So pick one neighborhood because it can be overwhelming. So pick one, just one neighborhood that you love, that you live in, that you know the neighbors, and then just do something simple like we're gonna do a, you know, maybe if you see that somebody sells a house in the neighborhood, and you see that the buyers are moving in, maybe you could call those buyers and say, hey, I know that you're new to my neighborhood. I'm new to real estate. I'd love to do a get to know your neighbor party for you. And start there. And then just have like an ice cream social or something and just say, hey, everybody, Saturday from 1 to 3, come by and get to know your new neighbor. I would love for you to meet them and have your business card ready because you'll get to know and you'll get database people and you might just get a listing or a buyer off of it. That's a great way to get people when somebody's selling in your neighborhood. And then start marketing your neighborhood. Just on MLS, you can go into, oh gosh, what is that called that we learned the other day? Something like MLS. Thank you. That's it. Love that. That's overwhelming to me,
It is.
but I love it.
Yes.
I love it. So good. So that's a great thing to do. Okay. And then also I do a monthly newsletter. These are all sent out. Used to I mailed them, but it got so expensive. So now I do it all online, which is great. So every month I have a newsletter, What's Up Denton, Candy's newsletter, whatever. And it goes to my whole entire database. Everybody I've listed forever, everybody I've sold to forever, all of my current buyers, sellers, people that are prospecting, everybody gets that. And so I do it every month religiously. They get the newsletter. important. I think something that's very important is testimonials. So when you sell a property, if you can get them to go in and do like a Zillow review on you, that is so good, because people do watch those and they read them. Don't be alarmed if you get a bad one. I about died because I got a bad one time for something stupid like last year. What was I can't remember. It was something so bad. I mean, it was something that was not even our fault, but they wrote a review. I mean, it was like, didn't even have a problem. Okay. So I called my technical guy and I was like, I'm panicking. I just got a bad review. And it was something stupid. I can't remember what it was. It was like no big deal. And he was like, Kimi, that's good. And I said, it's good. It cannot be good. I don't want a bad review. He said, no, it's gonna shake up your algorithms or whatever. So just start getting some good ones on top of it. And you'll be fine. It's just gonna shake you up. You'll be fine. I don't know. I'm like, I don't think it's bad reviews. So it was bad. But you're gonna, if you get one, just don't lose sleep like I did. Okay. Curb appeal. Okay, this is showing your house at its best. I always try to go through with my client how to get your home staged and ready, because it's so important. Everybody that lives in their home thinks their home is perfect. In fact, I've got to have a conversation with somebody today about that. They want the best price possible, especially right now because the market's so hot and so great. And they want the top price, but they don't want to work for it. They think that people are going to buy it just the way it looks, and they don't want to mow underneath the fences, and they don't want to weed eat. They'll just surface mow, and it's like, oh my gosh, we've got to get this place show ready. And it's a talent to be able to tell them how we're going to do that. So I like to just kind of touch on this, and I'll say, people first impression is everything. So I like natural light. So I'll tell them, hey, let's open up the blinds and get this natural light flowing, because that brings our energy in this house. And don't turn on, if they have, a lot of people are going to the LED, the white lights, which contemporary homes, the white LED is great. But there's something about a softer light that will just make these people feel at home. So you really want to make sure that they don't have fluorescent stuff going everywhere. Like those fluorescent ones in the kitchen, tell them do not turn that on. Turn on the microwave light underneath. Have that underneath lighting going versus that big tall light, because it's just going to give it that feel of good. I always say, if you have some music, let's turn on some music. Let's have some music going on in here. If they, sometimes you can't fix it. You just can't. There's too much. But I'll say, let me show you a house down the street that sold at this price, and I'll show them pictures. And when they see the pictures of a house that's clean, they know. They automatically will say, oh gosh, there's some things we've got to do. So you don't have to really touch on that a lot, but I will touch on it some. The next thing I like to talk to them about is I like to talk to them about how we get business. And the market has changed so much. It used to be signs. When I got into business, it was signs. It was newspapers, Denver Chronicle. That's what it was. And now it is crazy. So this is on your command system. And I pulled it right off because I thought it was so powerful. But from here to here on this pie is all internet. And then this is the real estate agent. So we've got this piece of the pie. We've still, your agent talking, networking, doing what they do, that's still that much of the pie. That's quite a bit of the pie. Then the rest of the stuff's going to be your yard sign, your friend, neighbor, builder, directly from the sellers, things like that. That's this piece of the pie. So I think that's very interesting to show the buyer or show the seller, hey, your realtor, you really need to get it listed if you're serious about selling. It needs to be with the realtor, but you have to be real careful how you tell them. And then we go through, I'll say, I want you at the pre-listing, when I first go over there, I will go through some things. And so now I'm gonna just jump right into, they've called and they want to list the house. So we're gonna start that next. So before I start that, does anybody need to like that? Or break, coffee? I know, I'll make it tomorrow. So I'm gonna pause for just a second. Yeah, let's take a break. Yeah, let's take a break for just a second.
It's only a piece of cake. Yeah, referrals are usually. Well, or after you go back to the office. Just call now and give them a visit. Call me on, just, because you're already established patient. So just go ahead and call me. Oh my gosh, this chair is heaven. School districts, like their ratings, is there like a website?
There is, I think you can go to DISD, or no. Just Google school ratings in North Texas. But I think, I know you can go to DISD for the ratings around here. You could just, yeah. Just do Plano ISD, and then go on their website.
What do you tell buyers when they ask you that? We want to be in a good school district. It's like personal, we can't steer them.
I always say I loved it, I friend it. I love this area, I've been here my whole life.
Oh,
And my clients I saw all over, and there's one school district that I usually don't show in, and I'm not gonna show y'all in it, so.
Really?
I'll say if it comes up, I'll tell you that this is one you might want to raise.
so what is it?
Thomas Rivera,
Where's that at?
they have good teachers, but it's just not.
Is that in Denton?
But they've started busing kids, I mean, it's over, okay, you know where Morse Street is? It's over there. Dangerous area. Like, kids cannot walk to school. Bad, like shootings and stuff. So, And it was kind of sad, like this summer was hard because, the summer was hard because, these young families, those houses were coming up over there. I was like, be careful, like how we handle this, because as an agent, you have a duty to your buyer. And if you have there's just a fine line of what I do. And if I have a kid, some mom, and I've got a 24-year-old coming to school here at North Texas, and I've got a parent that's trusting me with their baby,
Right.
I'm not gonna put them in that school district. I just keep them up. I got a conscience, and I'll tell their parents, this is not, probably ethical, but it is ethical on my end to tell you, I cannot show you your kid cannot live there.
I would imagine they'd appreciate that.
They love it.
Yeah.
They love it. I
I
could probably
would.
get in a lot of trouble, but I'm representing them, so I'll look at it. But I'm just not looking at a baby in a bad area and have that on my conscience. That's what I do. I mean, I kind of, my friend Tabitha Polly, she's a realtor here in Aubrey. She's my best friend. She has a group and a team. She's a mega agent as well. And, one time she said something, and I said, Tabitha, that is so true. She said, real estate, it's not black and white. It's red, it's purple, it's green, it's yellow, because you got to do so many things in real estate. If you have a short sale, you're dealing with the bank, you've got to figure out a way to get that paper through the system. And sometimes it's tricking that underwriter, or not the underwriter, but the bank. I mean, you gotta do certain things on paperwork to get it through that system. And that's not black and white. It's just, they don't make it black and white for you. So you've got to do the right thing and follow the rules always. But just like the IBIS, not get fired for saying this, but when you go to a property and you've got somebody who's so mad that you're there and you showed up, they're not gonna sign. They're just not. So I don't even pull it out. I mean, I just don't. I try to, but
At what point do you present the CMA? When they are gonna.
oh my gosh, I've got it right here. Thank you. That is a great question. I'm on my game, but I'm not 100% on my game because today's day one back from this tragedy we had. Hi. Okay, there he is. I've got it. I went over it this morning. But I'm prepared. I have it right here to go over with y'all. Okay. Let's go back. I'm at the FISBO, okay, and I'll say, okay, so I've got some goodies for y'all, and I will say, they'll go, oh, you do? I'm like, yes. So the first thing that comes up is my CMA. So thank you for saying that. So it's first before I go into all this other stuff that I went through with y'all. So I'll say, yeah, since I knew I was coming over here, I wanted to bring over a market analysis because sometimes you'll pull stuff off of Zillow and Zillow will give you a Zestimate and it's terrible. And don't ever trust Zillow, don't ever trust Zestimate. It's awful. You really need a licensed professional to tell you what your home's worth. So what I do is I pull up two different kinds. So I'll do the cloud CMA that you can get on MLS. And this is just a report, super easy, and I'll show you why I do both. And then I also do this one line report, and I'll show y'all how I read this report. So, for example, like this one, for example, is on 1519 Pickwick. We just made this up for this class, John Doe, isn't it? But so 1519 Pickwick. So I'll say, okay, so this is your house right here. And these are all the houses in your subdivision. I pulled all the houses out of this. Really, this is the one page I really use is this page because I want them to see. Because sometimes they'll say what I was used to do was just take this one line CMA and they'd go, well, those aren't in my neighborhood. So then I started pulling this to show everything that I pull is in your neighborhood so that they know that this is a real report. It's not just a fake report. And then we're going to get realistic on price. So I'll say, okay, so if their house is, let's just say, like this one on Pickwick, for example, in this CMA, I will have their tax rolls as well. Which I don't think I brought those ones, okay. This one is 1837 square feet. So let me show you how I will put what their numbers are. So 1837 square feet. And this one has three lines. I've got an active, pending, and sold, and I always go back 6 months, just so that they can, that's what an appraiser is gonna do, so that's what I do too. So we've got 1837 square feet. I tell them at the top, because sometimes their wife or husband's not there, they're at work. So I'll say, okay, when you're showing your husband this tonight, go through this. But like this will say, number of beds, bath, garage, year built, pool, square footage, acres, list price, sold date, and current days on the market. So I'll say, okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start over here. I want y'all to see how long with a realtor things are staying on the market. And we're literally 4, 2, and 3 days on this one house. So your neighborhood is hot. Now you can sell your house yourself, but if you sell your house yourself, what's gonna happen is you're gonna get multiple offers, and you've got to be real careful on how you handle those multiple offers, because you've got to handle them in a professional way. And people are so happy right now, and we are trained professionally on how to handle those multiple offers. So if you need any help, I'm here to help you with that. So please keep me in mind if that happens to you, because you're probably gonna get that in this neighborhood. And then I'll say, okay, then, for example, there's one here on High Meadows, it's 1904 square feet. It was 17, it sold for 172 a foot. Then you've got one that's bigger, it's 2108 square feet. It sold for 147.06 a foot. So we've got a spread there from 147 to 172. That's a lot of spread for a house. So what I do at that point is I start looking up here, and I go, okay, pending. I've got one that's 2100 square feet, that's 158. So in the 140, 155-ish range is what's selling in the bigger ones. Then I've got one that's on the market on Cyrus Way for 162 a foot, that's 1700 square feet. And I'll go back down and I'll look at the one that's sold, it's 172 a foot. So I'm gonna say somewhere in this one's gonna price out about at 1837. You're looking at somewhere in the one, as hot as the market is, 155, 159 a foot range for that well, maybe more, probably 164, 160 a foot, because that's a good, I know that neighborhood too. People want to be there, so I kind of have that advantage on this one, but I would price this one higher. 1800 square feet, you're not going to find it in Denton, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-story. I mean, those are just jewels, diamonds. So people are paying a lot more for those right now. And then I'll say, so, I can get you, and that's the other thing too, if you're at FISBO, and let's just say they want 180 for their house, and you see that you can clearly get them 200, then I'll say, okay, so you're at 180. Are you thinking about like negotiating any? And they'll say, yeah, we have a little bit of room. And I'll say like 5,000 or so. And they usually say, yeah, we could probably do 5,000. They always say that. Always. I mean, it's rare that they don't say they can't negotiate. It's rare that they'll say, this is what it is, and this is what I'm taking, and blah, blah, blah. And then I'll say, well, so if I bring a buyer, I mean, like, will you pay any commission or anything like that? And they'll say, sometimes they'll say 1.5%, and I'll just let it go. And then sometimes they'll say, well, 3, we'll pay 3. And I'm like, perfect. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Well, okay, so I want to show you something. I can get you $200,000 for your house. My commission is 10,000. So we're at 190, and you're willing to take 180. So I can get you 10,000 more, clear than you were going to make as a buy owner today. So let's talk about listing this and get it on the market, and let's get some serious buyers in here that are qualified, and let's take care of you, and let's get this done so that you don't have to sit here and do this by yourself and let me do my marketing, and I'm going to take good professional pictures. We're going to
have a staff working for you and making sure we get you down the right path and you don't get stuck in a rut. And then you're just sitting here. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes we have to go through all this. But that's just the process. But it's fun.
Do you have for your FISBOs, do you have like a timeline that's the best time to hit them up? Because I found a FISBO, they've been on the market for like 47 days, almost 50 days. Pictures are not bad, I mean, and it's a nice house.
I do them as soon as they go on, I get them. I start prospecting them. Like the moment they
So
go
if they've
on.
been on the market that long, you know they've been contacted numerous
Well,
times.
are they local?
Yeah, they're like, that one I think is in Cross. or I think.
Okay, probably wouldn't have prospected then. But,
So you're only doing Denton.
I do Denton, no, I'm not in Denton County, Denton and Cook.
No, okay.
I don't do Dallas or, I mean, I get Dallas listings for some of my clients. I have some investor clients that list with me, but I don't.
What do you, a common question I get from buyers and sellers is, how come when it's a 2-story, it's less per square foot rather than a 1-story? It's a great question. It just is.
Well, the bigger the square footage, the less
Less,
per square
right.
foot.
But it seems like with a 2-story,
They're a little bit,
tends to be less per square foot.
you know,
Because people, yeah.
a lot of times, what I would say in that is a lot of times parents want their kids to be on a different floor than them, you know, like upstairs and have 2 floors. In the houses that have all the bedrooms up on 1 floor, they just have a harder time selling. It doesn't matter what market it is because parents don't like that. If I had a 2-story, I'd want everybody together because I'm a fire crazy, not Nazi, but I know that, you know, people, you know, they just don't like that. So that could be it. I don't know.
That's why I was like, yeah. I didn't
You
really have
know,
an
you
answer
might
for
could
them.
ask Mitzi Harrison Appraisals. They could probably tell you. But she's gonna tell you it goes off of comps. It goes off of comps and what amenities you have inside the home.
Not based that it's a 2-story or 1-story.
Mm-mm, I don't think so.
It's interesting.
I'm just always noticed it on like the bigger square footage, just less per square foot than I get asked that question a lot. Because you'll have one that's 2,500 square feet that you're trying to list at 150 a foot, and you've got one for 1,500 right down the road. It was built in phase 1 of the subdivision, and it's at like 195 a foot. And these people are wanting the 195, and you're like, it's not gonna bring that because it's smaller square footage. Well, that's not fair. It's the same, they don't get it. And so you have to,
I know.
it's like, okay, look, let me show you proof. So that's that, but yeah, it's, I think a property right now, and I will tell you this, y'all, this was crazy. So I went to a house, Carrie's, I've got a house that's in contract now, but, it's on Green River. She's a friend of mine, and, I sold her this house. I sold her house in Providence about 6 years ago. She bought this new construction. And then now she's buying another house. They're upgrading again. And so I went there in March. And I told her a price, and it was a lot higher than I thought I could get her. But I was like, let's just try it because the market, people went crazy after that ice storm, crazy. And so so in March, I told her a price. So then a month ago, I went back over there and I pulled these comps out and I said, Carrie, oh my gosh, since March, her house went up $20,000, 20,000 since March. I've never seen a house go up that much since March. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I went back through my phone, I was looking at my old comps. I thought, what, have I made a mistake? And so I went through my notes. I had my notes from my first appointment. And clear as day, it went up $20,000 in that neighborhood. It's right behind Joe Ford here. Those triangles. Right.
So I
market did. So what's gonna happen, I've been through this before, what I anticipate is gonna happen, and I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet, that we're starting to run into appraisal issues, we really are. And so appraisers and the appraisers used to, you could like take them to lunch, give them cookies, and they would come up a little bit. I mean, they'd work with you. If it was a couple $1,000s, they would make it happen. But now they won't. I mean, they just won't do it, and which is good because it's going to save our market. It's going to save our economy. But it's hard because you've got something in contract and then it doesn't work out. But anyways, I think that it's gonna hit a plateau. It has to. It's the only thing it can do. Okay, I'm going to go over, this is my coach. Her name is Basha. And she's with Keller Williams office out of Houston, and also I think she has one in Louisiana also. But she is amazing. She's got a team. It's called In God's Hands Realty Team, but she's with Keller Williams, and I love her so much. But this is her listing packet. And so I've got these passed around, and there's copies for everybody, but I'll pass them out to kind of flip through them and look, and then if y'all want to make copies, I can get you copies. Good, and then we'll go through, but it's just basically kind of the same as mine, but it says, what do you get? Communication, experience, marketing, and this is what she emails out to her clients. She has delivering the 10+ experience. So I just kind of want to show y'all just a different view other than mine of what people send out. She got all of this off of command. Why Keller Williams? And it talks about the technology. So all of this comes right off of command onto your page. You can just, copy and paste it. She has a website. She has a Facebook page. So if you go onto her Facebook page, you can pull these forms too. She's got some great tips starting out on her Facebook page. Her Basha's Corner. Basha's
B is in Victor.
BASHA. And then her last name is CHEVALIER. Okay. If you get on her Facebook, there's like a place where it says files, and she has all these different things of how to talk to the seller and how to talk to the buyer, and just really good read stuff that will help y'all when you're creating. This talks about technology, teamwork, knowledge, reliability, track record. And since you don't have a track record yet, use ours. Use the offices. Use, we're the #1 company. Read on your command where we are with all of that, and come up with your, track record in your script. Come up with the script. Scripts are so important. There's something else here I want to share with you. I've got some stuff to have, I want to tell you all about too. Oh, she has raving fans, so she's got her reviews on here as well. So she's kind of doing something I'm doing as far as what are people saying. She has a whole lot more. She has a whole lot more scripts. Mine are just little one-liners, but and then it says what's next, what to get started, what to do. She has a moving checklist. So she just kind of came up with her own, and it's just good to have a little packet. It's good to not show up empty-handed. It really gives that wow. Get that wow to show up the door. Okay. And then I'm gonna go with my other notes. When you have a listing and you're gonna do an open house, there is certain things that you can do to really get people there. And one of the things is you can go and knock on the doors around before the open house. So like maybe the night before, or just say, hey, we're gonna have an open house. And we'd like to personally invite you, and put a little invitation card in your door or whatever. And it's just a great way to get people there. put it on MLS, it'll hit Zillow's, Trulia, all of those different places, so that people will come. If y'all need an open house to do, always call my office. We'll be glad to let y'all have a house to do on a Saturday or anytime. If y'all want to do an open house, we'll put it in there and have people come, and y'all can sit on one of our open houses. We always need people sit on open houses always. So we're always looking for people to do that. And we do get people coming through. And then you can also blast that neighborhood too. So by going into that program, she said, what's it called? Remind, and saying, hey, we're having an open house, please come. You can do that too. It's free. It's free. I'm all about free. Okay. Then I have, this is just my, on the back pages, it talks about my community food, what I do to get things ready, and then my just listed campaign, what I do. Once I get the listing, there's several things that are very important. So I want to go through that with y'all. Let's see. Okay, so if y'all have this sheet right here that I gave y'all, I'm gonna go through this. This is kind of what we do in our office when we list the property. Some of this, and y'all can create whatever you want when you get a listing, but what I would say the number one thing a listing wants to know is feedback after a showing. That's the number one thing. And that is the hardest thing for you as a realtor to do, because you're gonna be out trying to build your business. You got the listing, you got it under your belt, you got it marketed in, and the system's working for itself now. The house is showing, and the realtor didn't get feedback. And so you're chasing that realtor down. And a lot of agents rely on showtime to give feedback to your client. But the client, if it's like me, they don't want to wait for showtime, because sometimes the agents don't give feedback. And it's so hard when they don't give feedback, because then the client gets mad at us. So we have to track down those realtors. And it's really hard as your business grows, and as the market shifts and we get to where the listings are not staying. I mean, this year, our average time on the market's been like a week. I mean, a year ago, it was 3 months. The year before that, it was, 3 months. The year before that, it was maybe 4 months. The year before that, it was like 6 months. I mean, it was 6 months. So we were like calling people, doing feedback. We had a system. I had somebody in place that was doing feedback, calling, saying, hey, don't worry. We had scripts for every single thing. The market's changing. It was election year. Hey, it's Easter. I mean, we would come up with whatever. It's going to sell, be positive. We just came up with stuff. But now we've just really gotten really lazy in that feedback, because we don't have to. I mean, they sell, they show, they sell. But when they don't, the clients expect it, and they get mad, and they will get mad at you, and then you get your feelings hurt when you work so hard on the back end, because you're doing everything you're supposed to do as a realtor. But if they don't hear from you, they don't think you're doing anything. So that's the main thing, is just contact them. So when I get a listing, I bring in the listing folder and I hand it over to my staff, and they make the folder. And the first thing they do is they call and they tell them, they educate them, hey, this is what's going to happen and what to expect with your listing. Hey, sweetie. I love your hair.
Oh, you guys are getting a treat today.
Girl, I'm just halfway here.
What?
I'm just half here, but I love your hair.
Well,
It's cute. That's my sweet friend Melissa. Do y'all know Melissa?
Hi, guys. Yes, some of them do.
She was our coach. She was a coach here when I
Yes.
started. So
Yes.
she's taught this class
Love
a
it.
million
You
times.
guys are having in for a treat. Have fun.
So, whenever I call my client to let them know that we've listed their property, my staff will call and say, I just need to give you what to expect when you are going to list your property. So first of all, and y'all have this, it's on page 39 of 42 in your book, but This is just the Keller Williams one, and I tabbed it for myself because I like this little checklist, and I have one, and I'm gonna add some things to mine. So, but we tell them, okay, Kimmy's already put the sign in the yard. I put my own signs out when I know I'm gonna go list it. I have it in my car. I just plop it out there, put my lockbox on, and boom, I'm done. I don't have to have a runner. I used to have a runner that would do it, but since I'm going over there, I might as well do it myself, and it's done. So I don't have to do that. But we'll tell them, okay, so we put computerized lock boxes on your house so that if anybody comes through the house and we don't know about it, we'll know about it. That's not gonna happen because everybody's respectful as a realtor. But, you know, just know that if we have this lockbox on your house, we're gonna know who's been through your home. So we like to keep everything on the up and up and have it, you know, where we know who's been through your home. We're also gonna put it in all the social media. They're gonna be everywhere. So I'll remind them of that. Then I'll tell them about feedback and say, you know, I know how important feedback is. And I have a staff and a team, but you may, you know, there's just one of me. And so on email, you're gonna get feedback on your email. Once I get it, you'll get it on email because it comes through. But just know behind the scenes, we're calling for 3 days in a row, trying to get feedback for you. So once a week, you'll get a report from us on feedback. But if we don't have it, we're not gonna be calling you. So just expect that. So just know if you don't hear from me, and I'll say it several times, please don't think we're not doing anything behind the scenes to get feedback, because we really, really are. That's the worst thing. I mean, it is so hard because these clients will call, they'll call me at 9 o'clock at night. My house showed at 9 this morning. Have you heard anything? And I'm like, I haven't, even though I've gone through this whole spiel and we've called and my staff has been calling. I've been calling. I get the notification on my phone. I'm texting the agent. I texted one this morning on the insulation house I had showed last night. How did it go? She still hasn't called me back. So, I mean, they're just, it's like, please do the golden rule and give feedback because it's so important to us listing agents to help our clients because some of them are very nervous now, nervous Nellies. And then I'll tell them, okay, then we kind of talk about now, as far as showings, just this is how it's going to work. We're going to give you a notice. We're going to let you know that we're coming. But if you work from home, I'll just say, just stay here. And when they show up, just step outside because a lot of times people nowadays are working from home and I do not want them to have to leave for 2 hours because what's going to happen is they're going to say, okay, we're going to restrict these showings from 5 to 6 only. And you do not want that. So I try to say, okay, I want you to work and just stay here and work. And then whenever you get a showing and they're here, just say, hey, I'm going to step outside. And then when it gets colder, we'll shift the way we do that. But now they can just step outside. And I'll tell them about my professional photography. I use Matrix Tours. It's M-E-T-R-I-X, or M-A-T-R-I-X, Matrix. They're good. They'll put, they will actually put it on YouTube for you, and they'll do that. So that's a really good thing. So you'll have a YouTube video that you can upload to your MLS. So that's really neat. And then we have also a guy named Blake.
360 images.
360
Realty,
images.
360 Realty Images.
Thank you. You tell I don't know what pictures ever. I don't know that. But no, I screwed up. Like, anyway, they're really good. They'll come right to your, within 24 hours, you'll have your pictures. So I'll tell them, hey, we're going to get pictures tomorrow. So if I get pictures tomorrow, it will not be up and ready to go till the next day. So I do not ever upload pictures without, I don't ever upload the listing without pictures because if you do that, Zillow, all that is screwed up big time. Getting those new pictures uploaded to Zillow, it's a nightmare. So just upload your whole listing at the same time. That's my advice. And get a live person is inside. Okay. And then I'll tell them we're going to create a flyer. I'm going to create a packet. I'm going to create a sign-in sheet. I'm going to bring that over a few days after so that people can, you know, have something to take with them when they come. You don't have to do that. I just prefer to do that because I want the realtor to have something in their hand to take. If you list a house and the house has had foundation work, I always this is one on my one we've got to do. I'm working as I'm teaching this class, but yesterday when I went out to meet with the installation guy, he had had a foundation work done, which as a new agent, you may not know, but for me, I would rather sell a house in Denton County that's had foundation work that hasn't. Because it's got a lifetime warranty and if it's been done right by a professional, that's good. And I try to educate my buyers, hey, our soil's gonna move. If this house hadn't had foundation work, it's gonna have to sometime, I promise you, because that's Denton. But anyway, I have it sitting out on I like to make a copy of the report. I put it in supplements on MLS and in the house, so they have it in both places. Also, I have a picture of the seller's disclosure notice. What else do I put in there? Survey. If they have a survey, I attach that to my listing. So in the house, I'm going to have a picture of the house on the front. So pretend this is the picture. It has all the stuff. Then I'm going to have attached to that the seller's disclosure notice, which y'all know what that is. T47 survey, all the tools that they need to write an offer, because you want that buyer to be able to leave that house with the agent. And this is just a courtesy to the other agent, so that that buyer's agent can give it to their client and say, hey, start reviewing this. And they don't have to go back to their office and that buyer has to go back, read through all this stuff and then make a decision. They can start making the decision right there on my property. So that's why I do all of this and have all this paperwork. It's a little bit more expensive. I mean, it really is expensive. We obviously broke our copier today because of it, but it's an expense, and you need expenses in this business, and that's a good expense that you need in this business. So that's why I do. And then I'll say, hey, do y'all want an open house? Because we really like to do some open houses, and most people do. I used to not do them. For years, I never did open houses. And then when Kelly sold that $900,000 $1 million property, we started doing open houses again. It started working. So Zillow changed the rules on open houses because they went very stagnant for a while. In Denton, we used to have this thing when we would list a property, and this guy, bless his little heart, he died. He was so great though. He was called the Hamburger Man. And so what we would do is we would do realtor luncheons, and we would invite all the realtors from all the different offices. So we'd have like a Keller Williams house here, Century 21, blah, blah, blah. And we get all those realtors together and we'd say, hey, let's do a realtor open house luncheon. And I would do like the lunch. This one would do a giveaway, nothing expensive, but I mean, we would all put our money together. So it cost all of us realtors maybe $50, $100, but we would invite the whole town, and not town, but the whole realtor community, put it out there on all the realtor Facebook sites and stuff. And that's a lie. We didn't have Facebook then, but we'd put it out there. But we would come, he would cook hamburgers in the parking lot of the house. And it was so great because all the realtors would have exposure, but it was something about that would always sell, because those realtors, there's something about walking a property, you remember it. You remember it and you'll think, oh, I just saw that property, and you'll, sell it. So, and it helps your seller. So that was something we used to do. But what to expect, I'll tell them what to expect. And then, we go through that, and then the office, well, the office is telling them what to expect. And then that's pretty much the first call. Then the next thing we do is I'll leave the disclosure notice, or I'll do the disclosure notice with my client face to face at the house. But my listing agreement, I always do that on DocuSign. It's just cleaner, easier. And I'm gonna be real honest, I used to do it face to face, and it would take me, it was just a headache to do a listing face to face with a client, because they're nervous and they just, you want to answer every question, but you're going through so much stuff, they forget it, and I want them to have time to read it. And so I'll say, hey, I'll tell them about the listing, and if y'all have any questions, call me. But if not, and they'll sign it within 5 seconds. Used to, y'all would take 30, 45 minutes just to go over a listing agreement. It's the weirdest thing. It's like people don't read anymore or something. I don't know, but it's weird. But they don't even read closing documents anymore. Used to, they'd read every line. but since COVID, they would, it's just weird. Okay. So we have to do the right thing in saying that, since they don't read, we have to make sure that we get our documents right, make sure that we put the right percentages down, make sure you have everything that you told them you're gonna do perfect on that page. Then we verify the showing instructions, tell them how the showings are gonna work, make sure that they're good. And then we go to the go and show, the showing time, put all that in there, schedule photos, put it in our follow-up box. So we're putting it, all of their information in there so that we can contact them and know how to get a hold of them. Anytime we talk to any client in our office, we put notes in follow-up box. And that is very, very important. So if I have a client that I go out and pull insulation off the floor, it's gonna go in follow-up box. And it worked yesterday because my client, he's a teacher and he's I'm not trying to talk bad about my client. He just was very frustrated yesterday over the stupid insulation. But I'm using this as an example because it's a good one. It's a good one to use because this is a real life story and it happened. But he was upset about this insulation being on the floor. And I said, he said, I'll call and I only talk to your staff. And I said, okay, well, I've called you 10 times and you've not called me back one time. 10. And I had it documented. And also I had sent him, when we listed the property, he had some windows that were fogged. So I went and had a window guy go out and just give me an estimate because I knew it was going to come up on the inspection. I did, you've done this so long, you know what's going to, kind of what you're going to have to expect with your different personalities and clients. So I went ahead and had my window guy give me an estimate, and on September 1st, and I had it documented and I had it on my phone where I sent it to his text. Thank God. But I had said, hey, this is going to come up in inspection. It's $1,875 for all these windows. Let me know if you want to do now or if you want me to negotiate it. Tell me what to do. So last week he had called my office and said to Dee Dee, and I'm just telling you too much, but this is an example of real life, so this is going to help y'all. He had said, those windows, I didn't know anything about those windows. And I said, and so Dee Dee called and I'm like, oh, yes, he did. I've got it right here on my phone where I sent it to him, So then yesterday he said, well, those windows, I know what happened to those windows when they pressure washed them, because I sent a window guy out there. Well, my window guy doesn't pressure wash. He squeegees. And I said, well, my window guy was out. Let me look. Okay, Will was out last Monday. And then this is when I sent you the window thing. And it was September 1st. And he was like, oh, I didn't get that. I didn't get that. But I had documentation and it stopped him. He was just trying to stump us. He was mad. He's not mad at me. And I could have taken it mad at me. He's not mad at me. He's mad because these people were upset over the foundation and they terminated because they did not want a house that had a bad foundation. And he has not sold the house yet. He's moved to Wyoming. It's a vacant big house. It's not sold. It's sitting there. It needs to sell. Y'all know anybody that's 600,000, bring them my way. But it's a beautiful, beautiful custom home, and it needs to sell. But the person who's mowing is not mowing underneath, and they're not keeping up with the property. And I haven't walked it in 2 weeks, so I didn't know. So I did have to apologize. But when I left, it was real funny because his wife's a nurse, and she came right into my car, and she said, "I am so sorry." She said, "You are doing a great job." And she said, he's just being very over the top, anal. Please don't take it seriously." And I was like, I'm not, because I've done the right. It's not about me. This is y'all's house. We're going to sell it. Just give me a chance. And so this afternoon, what I'm going to do to make it right is I'm going over and I'm going to meet with my contractor, Jose, that's already been up there once and is familiar with the family. We're going to go and do a few more touch-up paint things and just kind of put a little Kimmy touch on it. And just because I feel like that's the right thing to do, just to get this off my books and off their books. And sometimes you just kind of have to go to the next level to make your clients happy. Because if you don't, you'll lose the listing because there's so much competition. There's so much competition. So we want to do the right thing, make our clients happy at the end of the day.
Do you
So-
have kind of a guideline or standard, if they price their house maybe a little higher, you say, okay, if there's not 10 showings in the first week, we need to
That's
revisit
Point. Good point.
the price.
I will say that. I'll say, we started at your price. I'll say, y'all wanted to start higher. This was my price. And I'll let y'all. And usually what I'll do, if they want to start higher, I'll say, okay, we're gonna do that for 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, we're gonna have a conversation. Because in 2 weeks in this market, if you don't have showings, it's pricing, it's not my marketing. Because I'm gonna have my marketing all done and it's out there, it's done, boom, it's working. So if we don't have showings in 2 weeks, it's gotta be priced. So I kind of set that stage at that point.
So is that just verbal or?
Verbally.
in the listing agreement?
I do it verbally. Sometimes I will do it in listing,
Okay.
but not often. Sometimes I'll just do it verbally and say, hey, we're gonna have a conversation, because they don't want to commit to it at that point because they really think they're gonna get a higher price. And then I'll call them in 2 weeks and say, hey, we talked about this, we haven't had any showings, we really need to have a conversation about reducing the property. And then they'll say, yeah, let's have that conversation, or let's give it another week, or, let's try to fill it out. Yeah. But if we list it high, I always say, hey, in 2 weeks, we're gonna have a conversation because we're testing it. This is a test. And I've done this for a long time and I know what I'm doing, but let's test it. And I just kind of let them think that I know what they're doing. When I know it's not gonna sell. I mean, people are seriously pricing their properties. This neighbor told them it was worth this. I'm like, okay. All right, let's see. Let's see. Let's just try it at that. I'm like, really? Is your neighbor a realtor? Okay. Well, let's try it. See, I always like to put it back on them, and then in 2 weeks, I'm like, well, did your neighbor sell his house? I see it's still active. I don't really do that. I want to. Okay. So, did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
What about the appraisal we talked about? So they're overpricing and they have an offer, but they would have to go through the appraisal process. And they know they're gonna put this much down, and they already pre-approved for the price, but the bank gonna check that, right? If the home worth this price.
They will, but let me tell you what's happening. Good point. So until this year in February, I didn't even know there was such a thing as an appraisal addendum. And I've done this for 25 years. I had no clue. I'd never seen one. Never had one. Never had one on my offers. Hadn't read one. So I have a listing up the road here, and we priced it. And we got an offer $90,000 over listing price. 90. And then we had like 10 offers on this property. So I went to the sellers, and it was a divorce, which was horrible, absolutely god awful divorce situation. The husband and wife hated each other. And so I was the needy person. Oh, it was horrible. But anyway, I'm like, they both were greedy. So I told them, and I didn't know about the appraisal, didn't I? I had no clue, but you learn in this business, you learn every single day. So I'm not scared to say I didn't know, because I love learning. I love learning in this business. But I just said, y'all, it's not gonna price. Like, y'all can pipe dream all you want. So it's all of us. The pipe dream. If y'all want this 90,000, we'll take it. I've got a good cash offer for 50,000 over that we can take. Y'all can close in 2 weeks, be done with it. And I mean, y'all are splitting the money anyway. So it's like 25,000 and 25 you'll lose. But so this woman, she got me good. I was gonna say. So she calls me back and she says, I talked to my sister, which is a realtor in Pennsylvania. Do y'all have appraisal addendums? And I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know. And so then by me saying I don't know, I didn't know anything the rest of the transaction. But I called Melissa, and I'm like, what the heck's an appraisal addendum? And she said, oh, Tammy, everybody's using them now because of going overpriced. And so she had to educate me on what an appraisal addendum was. And so So I called my client back and I said, you know what? I just learned something. Thank you. Oh my gosh, we're gonna definitely use appraisal addendum. Let's do it. So I went back to the agent and I said, I want a full price appraisal addendum. If y'all want this, because I've got another offer that's really good and it's cash. So, you know, if y'all want this house, you're gonna have to go full price appraisal addendum. And we did, and and the problem was, this was the problem. And you get into, you've got to do the right thing. You've got to realize, and it's so hard in this business to stay focused sometimes because the buyer of this property was my buyer, but I had given it to a buyer's agent because I had the listing. And the buyer is a family friend. So knowing that she's paying over, you know, it was hard. But I gave it to the buyer's agent and I was like, this is gonna be tough on both sides. You're gonna have a hard time with her and I'm gonna have a hard time with my client because I love your buyer so much and this is just a client to me, but it's my client. And I gotta love that listing more than I love that family friend. And that was hard. That was very hard working that deal because in this business you give, you have a heart, you want to help everybody. But our duty when you have a listing agreement is to that seller. And when my mom worked for me, I remember one day she came in with the listing. She's not let me forget it either, I promise you, but she came in one day with the listing and she said, Amy, I want this house. And I said, Mom, I've got 5 offers. And she said, I've taught you to do the right thing. And I said, yeah, you have, and I'm going to. And so I looked at him, well, hers was like 5,000 under my best offer. And so I went to the seller and I was like, here they are. And they didn't pick my mom's. And I was like, I'm dead. Like, I'm thinking, I'm never going to get a Christmas gift again. But anyway, I went to her, but she was like, you know, Amy, I'm so proud of you. That I taught you to do the right thing, and you did. And I've always, that was like years and years ago, but that stuck in my head that, you know what, I represent that seller. And that seller is my obligation to get them the most money, be fair, be honest. But when you love that seller that much and you try, and it's gonna happen, and then they call you and they're like, why didn't you see that insulation on the floor? You're just like, oh my gosh, I've been at your house every single day. So it happens in this business. It just does. So just let it roll off because you have to be very thick-skinned. I do a lot of commercial. I do a lot of listings, but I do commercial and developments and land, and I go up against developers and men face to face and head to head. And I had to get thick skin. So this business will really callous you. So try to keep it from callousing you from your family and your real world and your people, because it really, it can be callousing at times, but it can also be so rewarding. It really can be rewarding. So helping people, helping that first time buyer that's so excited to get their home. And I've cried with people, and yeah, it's just, it's a very, very rewarding business. Okay. In this book, I found some things that I thought that y'all would just love. And I don't know if y'all got copies. I think you did. But this was, maybe not, this will be mine. I'm going to show you this page. This is questions to ask your realtor. I don't think you did, because it says San Diego on the bottom. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to tell y'all some of these that are really good. There's 14 questions on here, and I might just get you both a copy after class for everybody, because this is when you're interviewing your seller. This is kind of good, like to ask them when you're walking through, like, question. Okay, when you'll say, do you have other realtors coming out to look at your property? Because they most likely do. And they're going to say, yeah, we have another appointment. I'll be real honest with you. I've got another appointment at 5 or 6 or whatever. And then you can say, well, I've got a sheet here, and make it yours. Take this off and make it yours. But I've got some questions that, and have it filled out for you with your answers when you show up. And just say, I want you to interview the next agent that you interview and ask them these questions, because it's going to is gonna kick that agent's butt because they're not gonna know these answers, but you've already got them. And so the questions are really cool. So like this, does your agent market your listings internationally? We do. Will your featured listing be available to 2 million users each month? We do. How many homes have you sold in the last 12 months? Now, y'all might not want to ask that question, but you can say how many teams or how many homes has your team or your office sold and find out the answer here. Office, use us. We're here as your backbone. We're your supporters. How many homes have you sold in the last 5, 10, 15 years? Don't put that one on there. Don't even go there. How can you provide me with a written step-by-step marketing action plan? Have your plan. You know, they need to ask their realtor that. Here's my plan. Ask them about their marketing plan. That's really good. Do you prospect for buyers on a daily basis, and how do you do it? Well, I prospect for buyers because I'm on Zillow, TroyerRealtor.com. We have our national databases, blah, 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 blah. Just make up your script, look at your scripts, have that answer, but tell them, ask your agent that comes over, what are they doing? And so these are really good questions to ask the next realtor. Here's my answers. This is what I do. It's just really good. So I found this morning. I'll make a copy so y'all can have that. So I think that's one way to win the listing is getting that. Also, I have this checklist. I'm going to give y'all a copy of. Look at it like a buyer to put in their listing packets, and it's just a check sheet on how to get their home ready. I would take this to the FSBO appointment. So I have to look at it like a buyer, 2 pages, and then I've got this one, that's really good. So I wanted to touch on that with y'all. And it's just things that I'll say to them. There's things on here, y'all done a great job getting your home ready, but there's things on here that you might not have thought about that I just wanted y'all to look at. And they'll say thanks. They're like, wow. You can tell them too much. Sometimes they'll ask about inspections. I use super inspectors in Denton. They're my favorite, but y'all can use whoever you want. I like super inspectors because they've got several inspectors there. But there's so much, all inspectors are governed, so use whoever you want, but I always like to give out their name. Okay. I think I'm supposed to do another video and I don't know how to do it. So, let me see. I tell you what, will you go ask Lorraine if I just push play? I think
You just want.
yeah, ask him. And while he's doing that, I'm gonna see if I can touch on one more thing. Okay. I think I touched on this. I know I did, but internet talk, just be careful about doing too much texting. You could text, hey, how are you? But call your clients. It's so important. Communicate, send notes. I'm going to talk about seller objections here in a minute. Talked about that. Talked about that. Any questions at this point?
I wasn't in when you first started, but I thought I heard you saying when you first started, you hired an assistant right away.
I did.
So an assistant.
Within a year,
or
an assistant.
TC, or what did you do?
I didn't know if I pushed play or what.
Is this one you're wanting to watch?
Well, I don't know. There's 3. There's 3 on here, and I don't know who prepped it, but it says there's 3 videos we're supposed to watch. Just that on my deal, 3 videos.
Weird, it only has 2 here.
Oh, well, let's just do 2. Because I think there was just 2 last time.
Yeah.
So we'll just do the second one. We'll get that knocked out, and then what was your question?
Oh, who did you hire? first?
Oh,
Oops, sorry.
all right, yeah, I'll have your answer.
Thank you.
You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, here you go.
Hi, my name is Gene Rivers, and I'm here today to tell you how to develop your listing skills to a very high level. And after you've done that, you'll be able to go in and take over market share. Number 1, the best source for listing leads is from your sphere and past client list. The fact is, the people you know the people that are going to be moving, whether it's at church, school, work, friends, relatives. Focus on making sure they understand you're in the listing business. Create a pre-listing package that you would give every seller, but rename it your guide to selling homes successfully in your market. And then give that to people in your database that you know have influence, that's collateral materials that they can give to their friends and refer you. Step 2, focus on an area, product, or price range. When you develop mastery of a product or an area, you will much more quickly succeed in those areas. And in that area or in that product or price range, focus on the FSBOs in that area, the expireds in that area, door knock in that area, geographic farm in that area, and I'm talking a fairly tight area, so that the people in that area will really, really identify with you as someone who can help them sell property for top dollar with low hassle in a short amount of time. Now we're at number 3. Everyone today that's looking at hiring an agent, whether it's a referral, even a past client, or a stranger who's gotten your name somehow, they're going to check you out on the web. So you need to make sure that your website is confident, that you've got basic, powerful content in there, and specifically that on the landing page, the very opening page, there is a direct offering to a seller. Find out what your home is worth, get a guide to selling your home. But if you don't do that, you're going to miss opportunities, because people will get your name, check your website out and go, I don't think so. I've seen a lot better sites. Fix your website with a database that you are working on a consistent basis, and with a tight focus. You build your reputation. If you're visible, you will find you will take over more and more listings, and in a very short amount of time, 12 to 24 months, you will own that market. That's how you take market share.
So again, it's just how to, listing baskets, prospects, all of that. So yes, I did. I hired an assistant, and I was scared because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pay him.
So what did you have them do?
I just had, okay. So back then, the title company would give you a book. It was a day timer. You got it every year in January, and it was like this big, and you would open it up, and it would have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It was a calendar. It was in a book this big, which I loved. I would probably still use it today, and let my staff made me get on this where they could see what I was doing at all times. But I loved it because all my clients were right here. I could see, and then I could go back the week before, and I would know if I need to call this one. But I would just like have him be at the office to just help me like do my database, set up systems, set up, like if it was today's time, set up command, research command, learn how to write a contract for you, learn how to.
So you would have them do that even though they're not a licensed?
They can write a contract. Yeah. So just have them, I don't know if that's really true, but mine all know how to write a contract, because if I'm not showing in that, there's multiple, I need somebody in the office that can write a contract now, because we gotta get it in. So, so I would have them, but the main thing is setting up systems, databases, newsletters. He did all my newsletters. He did all my marketing, 100% of my marketing. Farming, all the farming, picking a neighborhood, sending out cards, setting up open houses, all of the events. I did an event once a year, so I would do one year I did 2 or 3 years, I think I did this. It was a Halloween party, and we did it at Cooper's Crossing subdivision, which is right off Locust. I lived in that little neighborhood, sweet little neighborhood, and we had an open field, and I thought, I'm gonna do a Halloween party in this neighborhood and just do hot dogs and just giveaways for the kids for trick or treat, because 17 years ago, people still trick or treated in that neighborhood. So I had these little face tattoos made, and they're like little stickers. And so every kid that showed up that was gonna be trick or treating got a sticker that said Tammy Hobbs Realtor. And so they got a hot dog and they got a sticker on their face so they could have it when they were trick or treating. I thought it was funny. But we did that for like 3 years in a row. And then I moved out of that neighborhood. I still have friends in that neighborhood. But it was funny. We had Barney there and, you know, back in the Barney days. I mean, gosh, it was probably 20 years ago when we did that. But it was so much fun. But just, I mean, you just have to think about things outside of the box, like get a community. You don't have to go, I mean, just one subdivision. It doesn't have to be a 500 house subdivision. You could take one, that one's just like 50 houses. So you could just take that one and just send a newsletter and say, hey, we're gonna have a get to know your neighbor party, fall party, or, you know, summer's coming, get ready for summer and just start working it now. Can you believe summer's around the corner? And we're gonna be like, what? And then the next month, yes, it's coming. I told you it's coming. You know, just think of stuff and then just set up a little budget for it. It costs money. I know you just got the business, everything's so expensive, but once maybe you have your first closing, maybe a lot like $200 just to do a mail out and then just start meeting people. I know Linda McKissick, when she got in the business, she would set up a card table at the mall and people would come out of Dillard's and she would say, she would have her realtor banner and she would say, I'm a realtor, here's my card, do you know? And she would just get her book of business right there in the Denton Mall, just sitting there meeting people coming out of Dillard's with a card table. Free. She didn't have to pay for it. You just never know. That's just how you get your people, just prospecting. And it's, you know, going through these classes and stuff, they'll say, you know, make all these calls and it's so overwhelming. I know it is, but I have a system and I think the key to making your calls is having your system. So my system is every day I get a list of bucket calls from my staff and we call them buckets. So it's people that I need to call myself. They've already called them or it's new people that I'm prospecting. So they'll send them to me and then I call them. Hey, this is Candy, just touching base, see if you're ready to list or can I come by and preview? That kind of thing. Quick, easy, and I'm just doing that all day long. My goal is 25 calls a day, but sometimes it's 50. I try in the winter, in the mornings in the winter, I'll start at 8 and do it till like 11 from home. I need a place to do it where I'm not going to have interruptions. So here at the office is not where I prospect. I do it at home or I do it in my car and you'll see me in the parking lot for an hour sometimes. I'm out there making my calls or I'm stuck on, you know, other calls. But if I'm out there and y'all see me, I'm powering through my calls and trying to get it before I walk in to drop off my pile of whatever. But I've got to get those calls. I do not sleep good if I don't make my calls. I just don't. I feel guilty. I feel like I haven't worked. And that's my job is to make my calls. Because if I don't make those calls, I'm not going to get those people. So you have to make the calls. Okay. So what I was thinking is, has any of y'all been on any listings? Have y'all done any listing appointments yet? Okay, so tell me about it.
Well, all of mine, I've had 3 listings. One was a close friend, so it wasn't, you know, I just walked her through everything and, you know, the next one I actually got a phone time and.
Good, here in the front?
Yeah,
See?
yeah.
I was telling them, do it. That's good.
Yeah. So I went to that listing appointment and we kind of talked over the phone, kind of walked them through the process. And then when I went there, I mean, I just had my computer and I pulled up the MLS and showed them what a CMA is. And this is how, you know, I got to these numbers and here's the houses that we're comparing it to so they can see pictures. And then I just walk, I mean, I didn't have a whole packet or anything. I had a little folder, but nothing to this extent.
And it doesn't have to be.
Yeah. But it was, I think it paid off because it was less is more. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
Very
I
true.
just went over my marketing strategy and how I do it. Like we list on Thursday, open house on the weekend, and then I'm hoping we're under contract by Sunday. I can't guarantee it. Knock on wood, that's happened on all 3 of my listings. So
good.
but it's the market.
We're getting so spoiled.
It's the market. It's not, if you price it right, and you know, background for me, before I became a realtor, I was a listing coordinator for Berkshire Hathaway.
Oh,
So I
gosh.
had so much experience.
You
and then
do.
my first year I was a realtor, I was a transaction coordinator. So the number, and my background is I was a corporate tax analyst, so the numbers are really,
So you've dealt with all
Numbers are
these
easy.
people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
my
talking
hard
about,
part is marketing. That's what
because you've got the
I
engineer.
have, yeah. So marketing,
So command is gonna help
Yeah.
you. That is gonna be your savior, and going in there and finding these pre-made templates that are already done
Yeah.
and Nick Baldwin, and you can just plop it in there and just change and put your picture.
and the last listing I had was actually my oldest coworker. So it was kind of,
That work.
again, it's not,
You've got a lot more experience than you think you do, though. If you've done all of
I'm
that,
very, very comfortable
you
with,
know
it's
everything.
the marketing. It's the lead generation that
It's the lead.
it's just awful.
That's what I wanted to
I
touch.
hate it.
And I know this is a listing class, but I always like to touch on leads because that's where it starts. I mean, we don't have anything unless we have buyers and sellers. So we have to start with our buyers and sellers first, and then we can, we can get our business. So, okay, so you haven't had really any seller objections or anything like that, because you've had just referrals. So that's good.
I mean, I think well, and I don't even know if it's an objection, the one they're always like, well, I want to sell it for, $1 million. Just saying. And I'm like, well, we can list it at that. However, you're not gonna get any showings, it's not gonna sell. If we price it down here, then in this market, you bring in multiple offers, and that's exactly what's happening. But again, it's the market, but it's being able to explain the market to them. Because they all want a price.
Higher.
And like,
They do.
it'll sit on the market, and then you're
Absolutely.
you're missing out on buyers. So then they're
Absolutely.
shocked when what I said actually.
Yay. It's so fun. Tell me about your listing.
I got mine by phone time.
You did?
I did, and it literally fell in my lap.
That's so good. I'm so glad to know you're getting them by phone time.
Well, the last 2 weeks, I mean, I've been on phone time all morning and phone has rang once.
I'm on it right now.
Yeah.
So, and last week it was dead, and I know Beth said it's been really quiet lately. So
Yeah. Well, and school
School just started,
Yeah.
and, so it's
it
fine.
depends on the listings that we have, the signs that we have out there on the calls that are gonna
But
come
it
in.
gets you in the office, and I think that's a good thing, because you can sit in on trainings and different
yeah.
stuff, because there's always something going
There
on. So,
is.
and you can work on your computer pretty much undisturbed downstairs or up
Yeah.
here, if there's not anything going on. So it's fine. Sometimes it's a good thing.
It really is.
But they wanted to move, they were moving to Colorado. They've been in the house the entire time. We priced it competitively and we listed it on Thursday. We did open house on Saturday and it was busy the entire open house.
Did you get any leads at the open house?
I haven't gotten the lead yet on any of my open houses.
Did you do an open house? So did they all have realtors?
They either had realtors or they came with a realtor. And my last open house I did last month, it was the same thing. They showed up with realtors or they had a realtor. And actually would give me a name or they were just like, we have a realtor.
It's hit or
And
miss.
I don't harass people when they say, hey, they have a realtor.
Oh, yeah, you can't.
I
Yeah,
don't like when it's done to me, so
Yeah.
I'm just not comfortable with it.
you can't. It's hit or miss. I know that, so we have a iPad thing that we try to get them to sign on because if you don't, they'll scroll.
And I
away.
tried to do that too, and I didn't put a little thing, due to COVID procedure, please sign in so we know. And I got everybody but one person to sign in, so
That's good.
that's probably the person I got COVID from, or whatever. Yeah, so, and then one lady, she's like, I asked, she said she had a realtor, she signed in, but she didn't check that she had a realtor on the thing. And then I said, and she's like, and they're just super busy, they don't have time to take me to open houses or take me around and da, da, da. And I asked her 3 times, did you sign a listing, a buyer's agreement? She never answered me.
Sometimes you just can't win them.
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't know,
Well-
but I can give you some suggestions on some places to look.
We had one this weekend. She had 5, but they all had realtors. 2 bet the week before. She picked up 2. Kelly picked up 2 the week before. So it really is hit or miss. So don't give up on open houses because
Oh,
they
yeah.
really are.
I
They're
think it just
good.
keeps you out there talking. to
It
people
does, and it
kind
keeps
of-
you, and it's a
builds up your
great time
confidence.
to work on the database. It's a great time to do thank you notes, do prospecting, write out cards.
I mean, I take that time, that's a good time to do those.
Well,
kind of
Jenny
things.
goes with me and she shows me a lot of stuff. So,
Good.
or I drive
And
my
walk the
husband or
neighborhood
son.
before. I mean, seriously, that works so good. Lori Treadway, I had her come teach a class to the buyer's agents in our office about how to prep for an open house. But she is fabulous at it. She's so good. She's so good. She's got all these different things she does. And then one of the girls in our office just bought this big, huge thing to fly out. Isn't that cool? I love that.
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
got
I
one of the
love
little
it.
tall things off of Amazon. It's
Yes.
like $20.
It's perfect. It's perfect. But so, okay, Bo, I'm gonna get you up here. It's been up here. We're gonna do some role play. Come on. So, Bo, let me tell y'all Bo's story. I'm so proud of him. He is like my adopted son. My son's 24, and so Bo, my son is a country music artist. They're climbing the ladders of country music. His name's Cameron Hobbs. He's on Spotify, Apple, and I don't know either.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Yeah, gotta get that plug in. But he's also, my son is also when COVID hit, we've been in Napa, played with Old Dominion, Carrie Underwood on the stages there. I mean, we were doing good and then COVID hit and it kind of started dwindling. And so a lot of his band members they're like with big people now, big people, a lot of them. And then Sweet Bo was with us and he's in the band. And so, anyway, Cameron has always been in real estate. He like was on my hip at 1. He was showing houses with me at 3. And so he graduated from UNT, but I told him so life. I said, you're not going to become a realtor and you need insurance and I don't want you to pay for your money. So you're not. So he got in the roofing business. Same thing, commission. Like, oh my gosh. So he has a roofing company. He does really good. He's the most honest, sweetest kid ever. He's not a kid, adult, but he's very good, and I always have him go out when there's a roof problem because he tells them, don't file insurance if you don't have to, because he doesn't want people to have that ding, and he's just real honest about that. But anyway, if y'all need a roof, let me know, that's his play. But Bo came on board and got his license and done fabulous. But he's learned a lot about listings and how it is. So it's not always peaches and cream. I mean, like in our office, it's super stressful because we have so many different personalities. And so like we'll go to this one and it's so sweet and lovely and they're so happy and they're closing and they're happy and we're just like happy. And then I walk in the office and my assistant just gotten
Chewed
her
out.
butt chewed out from one end to another because she was now late on calling this client back or something. You just never know. I mean, people are just that way. It's just real estate. But this market is like that. Denton's like that. People want answers now. They don't want to wait tomorrow. Tomorrow is not going to work. They want to know today. So, but anyway, role playing is, I think, always good. And so I'm going to be a listing, and I want you to be a for sale by owner.
Okay,
And
it's
you,
already listed.
no, you're not listed. You don't even want me coming to your house
Oh, okay.
at all.
Okay.
So I've called you and you've allowed for me to come in
Mhm.
to look.
Okay,
So I want you to be real objective.
okay.
So be your dad. Be your dad. All right, so here I am. I'm just a role play with y'all. All right. So hi,
Hi,
I'm here to see your house.
well, come on in.
Well, thank you. You're too mean. So,
I guess.
all right. So how long have you been on the market?
But you said we didn't list yet.
No, like for sale by owner.
Oh, so we are listed on
Yeah, you're
Zillow.
like on Zillow.
Okay,
I just found you on Zillow.
we've been listed for 3 days.
Oh my gosh, have you had any showings?
No.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh, well, I hate that. I want to bring you a buyer. Would you let me bring you a buyer? If I like just brought them through?
Yeah,
That's
sure, you can bring them by, we'll look at everything, we'll look at offers,
Good.
but we're not gonna list.
That's all right. That's perfectly fine with me. No big deal. Okay, so, well, tell me about your house. How long have you lived here?
I've lived here for 2 years. It's a rehab. We bought it and gutted it and completely remodeled it ourselves.
I love it. I love it. I can tell that you did, and I love that granite.
Where'd you find that? That's
We
awesome.
made it ourselves, actually. It's a DIY project with epoxy and
No way.
kind of deal. Yeah, saved a lot of money on it.
You
It looks great.
did. I love it. Saving money is,
Mhm.
that's the key. And that's why, I always like to save people money. Always like to save people money. So, well, this is an awesome house. So we've looked at the house and everything. So I brought you some stuff that'll help you sell them by owner.
Okay.
And so in my office, I've got several agents that have buyers and, we are with Keller Williams. So, and I know you probably hate realtors because everybody does who's sell by owner, right? I get it.
Mhm.
So, I really kind of hate realtors too, but I'm different. Can you tell I'm different?
Well, how are you different?
Because I'm gonna bring you a buyer, I'm gonna get you a lot of money
Okay,
over your price. You want me to show you how?
sure.
Okay, so I'm gonna show you how. So a personality like this is kind of like, I can tell he's just BSing me a little bit because I could get his listing. I could see past all that. But I also heard in that he did his project himself and he's tight, and he doesn't want to pay a commission. So I'm gonna kind of filter off of the fact that he's tight and he doesn't want to pay a commission. So let me go back to this little listing here. All right, so thank you so much again for letting me come out. Your house is awesome, and I can see all the work that you put in your house, and I know it cost a ton of money. Like you put thousands in this house, and it's gonna sell because of that. Where I saw this on Zillow. Is there any other places you're trying to get this out to?
Realtor.com. eBay,
Yeah, some of those
things
places.
like that. Craigslist.
Oh, well, okay, so I want to help you, but I know that commission's probably the reason that you don't want the marketing.
Mhm.
So I have some different creative things I can do to help you get it out there. And I know you're not wanting to list today, but just think about this. And I want you to just kind of think about it, and then I'll call you next week and we can talk about it. But what I was thinking is I was looking at these numbers and, these numbers show that you're a little on the high side, but I see now why, because you've got a lot of upgrades. And I feel like this needs to be like really marketed to like nationally. Like I need my Keller Williams people in California, my relocation people, the people that are really going to see value to your home to come in here and see this. And sometimes their agents that are working with them are not going to go to those sites. They're only going to go to the certain relocation sites. So it's got to be listed with an agent to get that. So the goal here is going to be to try to figure out how to get you to a price where we can work together and win, So if you see that you're not getting showings in the next week, which I love the fact that he told me you want to get showings, that's awesome. That tells me he's not going to get any showings because he's been on the market 3 days, no showings, no calls. So that means he's not going to get anything. That means he's going to have to reduce at some point. So that helps me a lot to know that I can call him in a week and the next week I'll probably get the listing because he's not getting anything right now and he's wanting to sell it because he's ready to go buy another project. So, I mean, I already know this from just talking to him this amount of time. So what I'm gonna do is I pulled these numbers and it looks like, I mean, we could start at your price and just test the market and see where we are. And I tell you what, I will give you a discount and I'll be real creative with you on the commission. And I'll tell y'all what that is. I'll be real creative with you on the commission if we sell it ourselves. And well, a lot of times people are paying over list price right now because of the market. So we just have to find that one buyer.
Okay.
So think about it and then I'll go through all this, what we went through earlier and go through all of those. And then I'll say, thank you thank you so much for letting me preview your home. It was such a pleasure. And I'm here and take these things. And if you need us for anything, call my office. My staff's there. If you need a notary, I'm a notary. I can help you or anybody in my office can help you. If you need a fax machine or a title company or a inspector, anything like that, just give us a call and we'll be glad to help you.
Okay.
Thank you. It's so nice meeting you.
You
Have a
too.
great house.
Thank you.
Have a
I
great
worked really
blessed
hard on
day. I can tell. I love it. If I wanted to be out in the big dogs, I'd be moving here. Promise. See you later. Bye. So that's how that works. So I just kind of put my little things there, just little. So that's how that works. And then I'll call the office and I'll say, hey, Bo, send him a here's his email, send marketing right now, or I'll come back to the office and I'll give him my sheet and say, okay, I send it to my staff, they'll send the marketing, the thank you note immediately that day and call. Thank you so much for letting us preview your house. Kim, we loved meeting you, loved walking through your property. It was such a pleasure. We look so forward to meeting or coming back and bringing buyers. We're gonna really try to look. 90% of the time, we don't have buyers for that property. We just don't, but we try. I mean, we really do keep it on our radar. And sometimes we do. Sometimes I have a perfect match and it's great because on a perfect match, on a for sale by owner, you usually get 6%. So that's a win. So there's a lot of different reasons to preview a property, not just to get the listing. Sometimes it's really bad. So,
Do you ever ask them if they're willing to work with a buyer's agent and pay the commission?
I do. I usually ask them that. I'll say, are y'all working with that? Would y'all consider, like, will y'all work with an agent? Are y'all paying anything?
Yeah.
And they'll say, yeah, we'll work with them. Most of the time, they'll just say, yeah, we'll work with agents. Sometimes they'll say, we're only gonna pay 1.5%, but I had one and Justin, I'm in contract now on, and in fact, we're closing today on it. He was not gonna list. I mean, he was heels and feet. He was for sale by owner and was not gonna list. And I just went out there on a whim. And I thought, I'll never get this guy. Like, I usually have a good feeling. And I thought, this one's a lost cause. I almost took him out of my database. Almost. 3 weeks later, he called and said, I'm ready to sell my house and I got 6% commission. I mean, I listed it for 6%.
Yeah.
Listed for 6%. We're closing today. He relocated. He was ready. He was ready. He knows everybody in that neighborhood too. So he's gonna be a good source of referral for us because we'll be calling all of those neighbors. You know, who sold his house, quick, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, it's just those kind of things. You gotta take those little nuggets when you get those and go. And the cool deal about him, he ended up being a really cool guy. The first time I went over, he's so just very almost mean. Just I don't like realtors. I don't need a realtor. I can do this myself. I've sold 10 houses, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So then when he called me back over, he had this trailer. He has cancer. He has cancer and he's taking this whole big trailer full of stuff to the dump. And I said, where are you taking that trailer? And he said, well, I'm taking it to the dump. And I said, he had Yeti cups, brand new Yeti cups with the handles. I said, can I have those Yeti cups that are in there? And he said, you can have anything you want. Well, he had needed a housekeeper to come over to his house. So Patty, my Hispanic housekeeper, she has a church that is about to have a big benefit for some people that need help. And I said, bring your husband. I've got a trailer full of stuff that can go to your benefit. Grabbing. And so she came over and she got all kinds of stuff that I mean, it's just things in this business are blessings. You know, you just things happen in this business that do bless you like that. He was thrilled to do it. To do that. Thank y'all so much. I know we have 2 minutes left, but that's about all I have for today, unless y'all have any questions. And feel free to, I will make some copies of this. And I'll tell you what, do y'all want to just, if y'all want these 2 pages, if y'all want to send me an email, I can email y'all this. Do y'all want to do that? Those are good. I want to show you. Those are really good ones. They changed all my curriculum. I had to redo all of this. I had it all down and then I had to redo it this morning. So I've been kind of all over the place, but it's kind of the same thing. But good luck on listings. If y'all ever have any questions or get stuck, and I'll help you. I don't mind helping you with that one thing you have, but oh, no problem. If y'all ever, Chris Rossman and I started together as the real team. He was right beside me. He's right beside me here. I've got an office right beside him, and I've got 2 upstairs. But my buddies. But if y'all ever, just like get stuck on a listing or anything, call me. I'm available to answer any questions.
all the stuff was just.
What is your email?
It's Cami, so it's CAMI at thecamigroup.com.
Earlier, you were asking about why the Franklin houses are 2 stories or
Yeah.
less than 1 story.
Did you find that answer?
Well, no, my dad was a builder actually, so I
Oh.
already knew that. but-
Oh, tell me the answer, 'cause I don't know.
The reason is because the most expensive lumbers are going to be your beams and, all the roofing portion. And because you have such a smaller roof on a 2-story, you don't have to do as much framework with the beams and all that. All the resin materials. So that's why it's so much cheaper.
And your footprint is smaller. as well.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that, well, you have the stairs, all the way for the stairs, but generally stairs are made with the wood that's already been cut from something else.
Sure.
That's left over. So the majority of that is already lumber that's already available, so you have to pay more for your stairs until you get to the rail, of course.
Well, that makes perfect sense. I'm always gonna say like, that's a great question.
Yeah, it's the lumber cost.
That's a
Lumber
great,
cost.
a great
Especially
question.
with the lumber issue we have.
Yeah, so.
That's,
That makes perfect sense.
my gun story, y'all. So I have a guy. I told you I'll tell you, and I just remembered it, but, so my husband, I have a guy that, he listed 1,700 houses with me, seriously.
Oh.
Yeah, my staff, I think. They were like, please fire him, please fire him. I'm like, "Oh, he brings us fire, he brings us fire." But he listed them like way over, and the houses were, I mean, they're crap. They're just not ever gonna sell, but no other realtor would list them because he's hard to deal with. He wants you to deal with him at, his hours are 8 to 2 in the morning, so that's when he does business. PM. And he's horrible to deal with. So, I mean, I accommodated him because he was a challenge, so I took him on for about 1.5 years. And I did get I got a $2 million listing off of a buyer off of it. So, I mean, it paid for itself. And then they ended up selling another house last week. So that was 3 million. And then they're about to sell Justin, that's 2 million. So it'll end up being about getting that one. It did make me some money, but that's all I made off of it. But it was just buyer calls. We got a lot of buyer calls. But anyway, I was having to go into houses where there were squatters. A lot of squatters. So, but I also worked for this bank. Well, it's a realtor that she lists a lot of short sales in Oklahoma. I have my license, and they don't have a licensed agent in Oklahoma that'll list the short sales for her. So I have this, I got a gun, it's like a little hot pink Smith & Wesson. And so right after the freeze, I picked up a house that was a short sale in Oklahoma City. And so I was in Oklahoma City, and I drove up to the house, and I told my daughter, I said, open the glove box and hand me my gun. And she said, "You have a gun in the car?" She's 18. And I said, "Yes, I do. And I'm gonna go in this house, and I have to have my gun because I think there's squatters in this house." So, and we're a big hunter. I mean, you wouldn't know it, but we're hunters, and we hunt, we fish, we have land, we do a lot of stuff. So I'm not scared of guns. So anyway, I put them.
I knew there was something I liked about you.
I hunt and I do all
I'm a
that
hunter
stuff.
too, so.
Are you?
Yeah.
We do ducks and deer and
You
all
bet.
that. We've been hog hunting here lately, but I had my gun, and I took off my flip flops and put on my rubber boots because the grass is like this tall. And I go walking behind the house, and I went through the door. Well, there's mattresses and everything laid out. And I'm like, "Hello, hello, hello." And I was shorts, And all of a sudden, I'm like, I think I hear something in the window like this. Well, my gun thing is so stiff, it wasn't on my shorts good. All of a sudden, it goes flying onto the floor, and it starts sliding, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And so I reach over and I pick it up, and I'm thinking, so I text my husband, and I said, "Okay, this is the deal. I don't need heat shooting license or shooting. I don't need to know how to shoot. I need to know how to put my gun in my shorts where it'll stay, so that when I go in a house, it doesn't fall out, because I can't say to this person, 'Hang on just a minute. Let me pick up my gun and shoot you.' You gotta pause." So that's my gun story. So I picked up the gun, put it back in, but
I'm like, from now on, I'm putting it in my little purse that I've got. I'm not putting it in that holster.
So
'cause it's
you
just-
haven't had to use it.
I know how to use the gun. It's
You
just
just
that
haven't had.
I haven't had to use it. No, now that would be, I could use it. I promise, but. Anyway, so.
But you've been in real estate a long time, and
Long time.
this is the first time you felt like you needed to.
There
get
was one other time and I didn't have a gun, and that was about, I would say 20 years ago. I was young and very hungry for business, and a guy called me. He's a big man. I'll never forget it. And it was a house over on Vintage Court, and I know the house exactly. I'll never forget this. It scared me so bad, but it was in Oakmont, and this guy told me I was naive. He told me he had won the lottery. And I believed him. I was young, I was in my 20s, and I said, he said he was a cash buyer and he wanted to see this house. So I said, okay, I'll be right over. So I went over, and I got that gut feeling when I got out of the car. I just got that feeling that you get when you take those gun safety classes. And I thought, what am I gonna do? I'm in this situation. Big black man, big. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So we walked up to the door, and I said, I opened the door, and then I stepped back, and I said, that's all right. I'm getting a car. I'm gonna let you go on in and look, and I'll be in my car. And so he was like, oh, okay. And I went to my car. I called my office and I said, y'all, I don't have a good feeling about this showing. I'm gonna stay on the phone with y'all the entire time. And he walked out, and I stayed in my car. I had the doors locked, and I just said, hey, I'll lock up later. I gotta go. And I just drove around the block, left it unlocked, and I left. And then I came back and I locked it and got out of there.
You never called again.
I feel, I mean, I've thought about that a million times. So that was the one time. And then right after that, it was about probably maybe 5 years after that or so, that girl was murdered in the community. An open house. So you just have to really watch your surroundings and be. Use your gut. Your gut will tell you. It really will. I don't usually feel scared. I talk to people before I do listings, and so I know,
Do you check them out on forewarn?
sometimes there's a lot of people I check on for one. I have it on my phone. I would love that.
Yeah.
That is a good thing.
I tried to do open houses by myself. He'll go with me,
Yeah.
I drug my son and my husband with me. And when at the house I did sell, we had the guy come in, he was, even my son, he's pretty open, but he was looking up.
You gotta be careful. You really do gotta be careful. But I hate to say that. I mean, this is my town. I'm from this town. It used to not be. It's everywhere now. People are just crazy. And by the holidays, I notice a lot more crime happens by Thanksgiving, Christmas. Those times you'll see crime rates really go up because people are desperate.
How do you screen the cash buyer
I tell them I need a proof of funds from the bank.
before you'll show them a home? Okay.
Yeah.
Cause I,
Even a screenshot of their account.
yeah, I've asked for that, and this lady just got so offended.
They
I'm
get
not
mad.
comfortable. I'm like, I'm sorry, but
They get
she's like,
mad.
you just don't want to drive to, I'm like,
I'll drive wherever, I just need.
I usually say that we have an office policy safety protocol, and it's nothing against her. It's just I could get in trouble if I don't do it because I make everybody else do it. And I use that mine a lot just because you just have to be. Well, first of all, you don't want to waste your time.
no, I've done a lot of that.
We all do. Oh my gosh, we all do, but it's, and sometimes you think you're wasting your time, and then that person's gonna turn around and refer you to somebody. They may not be the one that buys, but they're gonna be the one that refers you to somebody, so.
Yes, I helped a lease client, tried to help her, showed her all kinds of houses. We couldn't ever get her to a house, but she referred me to a buyer. And I closed on a house with a buyer. You just never know.
She'll come back around and buy from you later on.
Yeah.
For sure, for sure.
So don't turn down all the leases. I know
Yeah,
it's hard, but I mean, that's how I stayed afloat my first year was.
That's
was
how a lot
TC,
of our
and I
agents,
did-
yes.
I think I did 7 leases. I had one close my first year.
That's good though. Leases
So-
are good. Jacob in our office does a lot of business off of leases,
Yeah,
a lot. He
and
does-
you'll get a ton for phone time.
That's good.
Mostly you get.
It's leases. Well, thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
If y'all need anything, call us. We're here. Hi.
Hi. How are you? Good. We've got the MREA book club, so.
We just wrapped it.
Yeah.
I need to call her. I'll just take her now. Gosh, I'm going up there.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm going up there.
Just ask Beth.
Yeah, Beth.
Oh, okay.
Beth is like signed up.
Okay.
Oh, you're good.
Okay.
I hate that screen.
Okay. That screen is terrible.
I know,
Or
right?
do you want to know this one time? Up to you.
Huh?
I've never seen the back of my head until I.
Until I'm here, yeah.
Terrible.
I've just stopped looking because I can't help it. Like, I'm gonna be on camera, so.
All right.
Yeah,
Can I
the phone
take your
right there,
brain
don't
on
you?
my
Yes, I wanna help.
undeveloped
I'm so sorry. I forgot.
commercial?
Yes.
Oh, you're good. I should have brought my book. I knew this was coming.
Well, you can stay even without the book. It's
Without the
okay.
book?
Yeah.
Okay, I just got a bigger brain.
I should probably keep an extra one up here for this reason. Wonder if there is one up here. Let me just bend over and show my whole butt to the camera. That's great.
They're investors, and I have them under contract with a property in Justin, but it's just for our. So,
Yeah.
property,
Oh, you did that. That one.
so I took it right off of
I
legal
would put
description.
plus dash minus acres. That way.
You're welcome.
Right acres.
Book club?
Yeah.
That's okay.
So.
Markings in it and everything.
Oh, no.
I would say
We give everybody a couple of minutes to like just let it out.
Sit over here.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, we could sit right here.
Yeah, that's what-
I don't want to get.
I know, I did like the way it was set up.
Yeah, the other way.
It's great for like the little get together sessions, but it's not so great for like teaching.
Yeah.
So. Just a couple more minutes. I think Lane
I was gonna ask if I was.
depends. He may have to cover lunch, so.
Downstairs.
Downstairs.
I heard that's leaving.
Yeah,
Well,
so if
do
you
you
know
know
anybody
which-
that I need to know to
Oh, replace
rehire
them.
that position, just let me know.
Okay.
Anybody amazing. I need to fill it pretty quickly and we don't hire fast. So.
I'll see. I'll see if I can think of anybody.
Cause I can work the front desk, I'm not the right person, cause y'all want me to do another thing.
Yeah.
So,
We're trying, I'll think, I'll see if I can think of anybody that.
oh, Rick can call and kick me. Okay. So misunderstanding,
Yes,
what y'all think about that chapter?
I really like that.
A total area.
Bunch of misunderstandings.
Yes. And they're very common too. I think my favorite, like absolute favorite one was, it was the sixth one, having a goal and not fully realizing is a negative thing. And I loved how like it talked about, Abraham Lincoln and how like they showed the timeline that how he got defeated so many times and finally got elected as president. And if he would have given up, then he would have never made it to president, or like Thomas Edison and how he failed 1,000 times before creating a light bulb, or Dr. Seuss, how he was rejected by so many publishers.
I know, right?
And so just seeing all those people, I'm like, you guys are so successful, but that's like a lot of persistence, because most people would have given up after the second try. I'm like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And I think for that, my internal struggle for that has always been, when is it enough? Like, how many times do you have to fail before you're like, okay, am I ever gonna succeed in this? Or maybe this isn't like my top talent, you know? So I think that's always been what whenever I see people that are like, that failed for like 1,000 times, I'm like, I think about it and like, you know, how many more times do I have to fail before personally, I don't think I would have ever done something 1,000 times. Like, I wouldn't have been persistent enough, but I don't know. I think too much of like, what if I didn't make any money for a year trying to make this work, you know? And it's like, I have to do something else because I can't. So
Right.
I just think, maybe it's not the best way of thinking of it, but you know?
Well, I think you have to eat and have a roof over your head. So sometimes there may be a pivot that you can still concentrate on it while still
doing something else.
Doing something where you can eat and keep a roof over your head.
Yeah.
You know, so there may be pivots in there, but I think it goes back to, you have to have a real big why.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? Otherwise, failing 1,000 times, you're not gonna make it.
There's also like another quote on chapter, and it was like, if your opponent doesn't see you as like a competition or something like that, that's like one less obstacle you have to worry about, because like in other words, if someone doesn't see you as a threat, then that's good, because in a way it benefits you.
Yeah, because if you believe in your competition is not, there's one less obstacle between you and your goals.
That's something like, I never thought of it that way. I see it as a benefit.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
If they don't see you as a threat, then they're not getting in your way.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
What's interesting to me though is like what you just said, like, would you really fail 999 times in order to succeed once? And that's like, I wouldn't do it either, but that's like a totally different obstacle that he was trying to overcome. So like, you may not do that in, let's say, real estate, but you shouldn't have to, because we can use other people's mistakes and whatever everybody else has already learned to shorten the learning curve. So, that goes back to like not trying to reinvent the wheel and all this stuff, just copy and paste what other people are doing. You'll get done a lot quicker. So he may not have had anybody to copy.
Because it's
it was
something
an invention.
so different. Yeah, you're right.
But in this case, like, we're not trying to reinvent it. We're just trying to replicate what other people are already doing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you're
That's
right.
true. So some of those fails already happened. That's true. I think the one I use the most is the first one. I use it on my kids all the time. I can't do it. Well, have you tried yet? Because if you haven't tried yet, then you don't exactly know if you can't do it.
Yeah.
Like, that's very tough for everyone to have your thoughts can be the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I guess just a thought of faith, like faith.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say? It's or limited belief.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's definitely it.
And something else, it's like how he mentioned how he puts his goals. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
That's something else that.
I think we talked about it last book club session, how it was a good idea to like not look at the big picture of like making $1 million in a year, instead look at it like, of selling $1 million in a month and then going from there. And I think for me, like, that is a great way of seeing things because I do get completely overwhelmed by the idea of like, I'm gonna make $1 million this year. Like, not off to the best start.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, making $1 million your first year, I mean, that's awesome and probably not the year you're gonna do it. It can be done, but probably not the first. That's right.
What's the last one? That was my favorite. Remember what it was?
That was the one she was just talking about.
Oh yeah, 6 was having a goal and not fully realizing it is a negative thing.
Something like that.
Do you want to look at mine?
Fear of failure is so common that it has its own phobia. Cacorophobia.
Oh, I saw that.
That 3 times fast. I don't even think I said it right the first time, so we're not gonna try that. The problem for some of us is that overcoming our fear of failure, especially public failure, is very difficult.
When you're new and you're supposed to let your sphere know, it's kind of one of those sensitive things because you want to let them know because they might be able to bring you business, but if you fail, then you've already made it public.
Yeah,
I mean,
that is so true. Because then you're like, oh my God, what if I'm only in this business for like 6 months and everybody's like, oh my gosh, what happened? Yeah, things like that. That's always not scary starting off. Because you do have to invest a lot of time and effort into it, and if it doesn't work, it's one of those things where you don't have a backup.
Yeah.
Like you can't. Most like sales positions are like, okay, we'll give you a base salary plus commission, and it's like this one you're really putting all your eggs in the basket.
yeah. And if you don't tell your sphere, you're probably not.
Yeah.
Because you need some of
That
their
word out
help
there,
and their referrals. I mean, even, yes, as you go along, you're going to build your database and your sphere as you go along, but, in the beginning, that's who you have. And so it's one of those catch-22s. You've got to tell them, and you don't want to. Just
It's kind of painful.
Yeah.
The one I hear the most, you might even have partially this limiting belief with Dolores's sphere. My clients will only work with me, only I can deliver the quality of service.
Oh yeah.
Your mom's clients.
Or yeah, like it does, and it's a scary thing calling them because 1, a lot of them know I'm so new, or 2, they've like known me since I was a little girl. So in their mind, they're like, okay, she's so young, like is she actually capable of it? So that's like one of my limiting beliefs is, are people gonna see me and be like, she's her little girl?
Well, you have to change that script. That you grew up in this business.
And that's what my mom's always told me. She's like,
Right.
you have years and years of experience because you've been doing. And so obviously, since she's bilingual, a lot of the times I would check over her emails or like help her with like English, like handouts and stuff like that. So
Yeah, you just gotta rewrite that script, and if you rewrite it to the point where you feel empowered by it, then that belief will not hold anybody back anymore, because when you're talking to them, you can recite that and it totally changes things. I have a real limiting belief that because I've never had a license and done that part of it, that people don't, that I don't have validity. I've done everything.
Yeah, you've literally been in this for so long.
For 20 years, like, and so it's a limiting belief up here, and until I rewrote it in my head, it was kind of like.
And that's kind of where I've gotten to is like, at first she was really strong, but talking to a lot of my mom's peers, especially people that I've met through church that I've like grown up with, it became more of like, oh, we've known you, so we trust you because we've known you since you were little. And so, and then it's just getting in front of them and showing them I do have the market knowledge or like the capabilities to do it. And then always being like, my mom's always here, like she's still a part of it. And so I think that calms it down, like, okay, I have you, but I also have your mom and your brother.
My mom left you in good hands, you know, with that kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's still, like, she'll still be on some calls, like, to be like, okay, yeah, I'm still here kind of thing. So, but, yeah, that's.
Anytime you're on the team and not the big name, whether that's a rainmaker or not, you have to deal with that. I just really want mom. Fire specialist, I specialize, you know what I mean? Like having a script to help them refocus. Brad had a great script over there because occasionally we'd have a client that didn't want to talk to me. I was the listing coordinator. I was just the assistant. And he'd be, no, that's my listing specialist. She specializes in listings and she lists more houses than even I do because of my team. So no, you need to talk to my specialist. You know, it was all about flipping their mindset. You know, we specialize in our own portion of the transaction. Talk to the specialist, you know. So what's the other one? Oh, it's too risky. I'll lose money. Risk is in direct proportion to how well you hold your incremental costs accountable to producing incremental results. I think you can replace the word money. I was just in a KW Zoom training and you can replace that word money with time. They were literally talking about investing your time wisely into one thing. It's not just money. Sometimes you're wasting your time doing all the little bitty tasks when your one thing is sitting on the back burner because you're getting caught up in the details. Whether you're investing time or money, holding your time accountable to results is important.
So the new agent setting up all the stuff we have to do, our Facebook business page, our designs, our blah, blah, blah. It's really easy to get caught up in the minutia of all that setting up. Where you're like, where did the day go? Yes. And then you get kind of down the rabbit hole trying to figure out everything. And it's when you're trying to use design stuff, Firefox, and it doesn't work. And you're just like, what the heck? Seriously. Yeah. So
Prioritization is super important. Figuring out what is your one thing and then what you're going to use first.
And that's hard, especially when everything is like, we need to do all of this yesterday.
Right. Yeah. I wish I could say it would get easier, but it really doesn't. It just evolves.
Bigger monster.
Yeah.
I think it's also sorry to cut you off, but it's also hard whenever, especially in this business, I feel like there's sometimes that I'm focusing, like, I'll give you an example. Like last month, I had been trying to make calls and stuff, but I wasn't getting as far as I wanted to. And I was like, trying to do like more of like I don't know, I've been trying to do a million things and I wasn't focusing on one thing, but I got really lucky with the fact that I found, I got a client through a open house. And honestly, it's like pretty much like a great transaction. Like she was just like, I found a house, this is the one I want, just put an offer in for me. And it worked, you know, and I was like, that whole month, like I hadn't focused on the one thing I needed to focus on, but I was able to get a client. This month I'm focusing so hard on that one thing and like nothing, like crickets. And so it's so frustrating because with a, regular 9-to-5 job, like you get, regardless of whatever you focus on, like you have that stable pay of like, okay, like I'm doing all these things that need to be done and I'm still gonna pay for it. Whereas with this, it's like, it's almost like they come in spurts, like you have, does that make
Between
sense?
results-based economy versus time and effort.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. Yeah. So
Well-
it's frustrating because sometimes you're like putting in all the work.
Well, this is a delayed gratification business. So what you're doing right now affects you 3 months from now. So that's why it's so hard in the beginning, because what you did 3 months ago was not real estate. So knocking that domino over today will lead to things 3 months from now. You just never know what domino you're knocking, which way it's gonna go. But it's not always, yes, figure out your one thing every day, what that is, and do that thing first. But it's not always just that one thing. It is one thing at a time.
Yeah.
So instead of doing, I'm talking with my client about the contract while I'm trying to do the flyer for my open house while I'm doing, don't do that, because it's actually gonna take you longer to do those 3 things at the same time than it would have talked to your client, do the contract, do the flyer, and you'll get it done more efficiently. So it's not just doing the one thing that's most important, it's do one thing at a time as well.
Multitasking doesn't work as well in
No.
this field.
It
Whereas
doesn't
every
work
other-
in any field if you read the book.
It feels like it in the other jobs than this.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the other jobs, you're gonna get paid regardless. It's like at the end of the day, at the end of the month, at the end of the week, like you're still getting the same results in terms of income. So.
And there are positions where you have to multitask. You have to. You literally can't not multitask. Like there's no way around it. But in jobs where that's not required, literally there are a graph. If you haven't read the one thing, read it because it is super important. But there's a graph showing the toll exacted on your mind when you're switching back and forth in the task. So every time you switch, there's a time you lose in your quality and you lose in the time it took you to switch back and forth. So just shutting your door, like there'll be times when my door is shut because I'm doing one thing and I need to do it very well. And then you guys will have me quicker if I just shut my door and do it real quick. And so there's times where I can't be reached, and that drives me nuts. I'll be back there, I'm like, oh, I need to go answer that door, and I'm like, no, I need to finish this, so then I can be out there, like, so it's real hard. It would take too much time and effort. I would lose freedom. Time and effort are not the deciding factors in success, which I think I balance.
I think for me, that one had a lot to do with, at least I had to change my mindset a lot coming into real estate because, again, I came from a job that was 9 to 5, salary pay. So in my mind at that point, you get paid extra for overtime and all that. So my mindset was, okay, work is relative to time. So if I work this many hours, I make more money.
Right.
Versus this job, it's not relative, like 1 hour work does not mean a certain amount of money you get paid. So why not work smarter rather than working harder? And so it's what I liked about that is kind of like, okay, it talks about making $50,000 working the same amount of time as making $1 million working the same amount of time. And so for me, it is like a huge eye opener thinking you don't have to, like you're taught growing up and going through school and going through like a corporate job is you need to put this many hours in, or you need to work 12 hours a day to make sure that you're doing a good job versus like a sales job or a job that is a commission pay job. It's not relative, like time and money. It's not asked.
No, it's not. I kind of think of this chapter, and I don't know why my brain did this, but like, I think it's because of the one thing domino. Like you've got these dominoes lined up and they're not facing each other, and you can choose which domino they each represent a task. And behind it are a certain amount of dominoes. Sometimes that domino falls over and it doesn't knock anything over. But this one over here, if I knock it over, it starts a whole ripple effect and knocks down 1,000 things. And so figuring out which domino from this point of view is actually going to end up with the ripple effect. That's what you're trying to do. Which one is going to benefit me the most? And I think the models and systems are the best way at peeking over the domino and trying to see what might be back there to see which one you should. my brain did that, but that's what my brain did.
Yeah, I love that whole concept. So there's a lot of books on it, 4-hour work week. Y'all read that one, but I'm reading the 12-week year right now.
Yes, that one's good.
So like all those things, like that's my end goal, like to work as little as possible, make as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Just because the money is really not that important to me, the time is more important than the money. Yes, I got to pay my bills. Yes, I got, I want to take vacations and all that, but just because you have the money doesn't mean you can do it, because if you're working all the time, then what's the point?
Right.
So, like, that's one of my goals, is to find a way to leverage other people and leverage systems and stuff. So, because I know that time, I know that we're in a results economy, and that's what it's all about. It's not about how much time you put in, it's about what results you get in the time that you do spend. So. But back to what you said a minute ago, like, so my one thing is lead generation, and my lead generation tactic is just talking to people. So I have a goal of talking to X number of people per day, regardless whether it's about real estate or just, hey, how you doing? Because eventually it will turn into that. I spent 3 months with one guy. I went to his house and did a listing presentation. He wanted to sell. And then I had to get his ex-wife's signature, because hers was on it too, and she's out of state. Then it just kind of died. And I called him, followed up. He was on my list of people to talk to, Obviously, I'm not calling him every day, but I'm calling him every week, every 2 weeks, And I just kind of gave up. He called me yesterday. I work Sundays, but he called me yesterday. And obviously, I saw his name, and I was like, I already know what it is. So let me answer it. Yeah, sure enough, wants to sell his house. I already got his signature now, waiting on the ex-wife, but she's game to sign it. She just has some issues with their emails. The internet, they won't go through it, kicks back saying it needs to be.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I need to send it somewhere else, let me know. But she's game to sell it, because
It makes her money.
she wants the money.
Yeah.
But it's just funny because it feels like there's no result. Like I'm just calling for nothing. I'm just calling for nothing. I'm just calling.
But you're not.
And then at the end of the day, the call comes back, and that's like, when I saw his name, I was like, reward time.
Yes. Yeah, you're not calling for nothing. You're building the relationships, and eventually they're gonna call back.
And what's crazy, it would have been easy to quit, because I can show you my phone. Like, there was several times when I sent him messages, happy Memorial Day, or hey, how's it going? No response. Like, how it shows ours on the right hand side. Like, several messages, one away, never got a response. Every now and then he would respond. So it's definitely delayed gratification.
Yes, it sure is. Before we run out of time, the second one is, it can't be done in my market. Yes, it can, but you need a new approach. What do you think about that one?
I thought that one was good. Which one was it? Okay, that's the second.
The second one, it can't be done in my market. I think when I read that one, it reminds me of the guy that was like, I like to play golf. I want to play golf every single day. And so he went up to the place, got a membership, and told the, I don't know, concierge person, whoever signs him up, I don't play golf, to put him with a new group every single time he plays. And that's his lead generation business. And he has built a model around it. So it can be done. So how do you make it work? So whatever you like to do, figuring out how to make that your lead generation source, it can be done. How do you make it happen? You can go play golf every day if that's your thing.
What makes it tough is there's kind of a contradicting thing that I've heard, and I've heard it from both sides. I agree with both pretty much. But like, let's just say that you're going to spend money in marketing, and you're going to gear it towards, let's just say, direct mail. at some point, you gotta ask yourself, because it said a minute ago on that red light, green light
Mhm.
type of thing, like don't invest more money if you're not seeing results. You
Right.
have to be able to measure the results before you go spend more money.
Mhm.
But in direct mail situation, you have to understand that it doesn't take
not
one
postcard.
postcard or 2 postcards or 3 postcards. It's 8 postcards or something of that nature. So like when you're setting up your marketing budget, you have to understand that like there's gonna be a big investment before you start to see that return. Because if you only do it for 3 months, then it was a waste of money.
It was a waste of money, correct? So you can learn from somebody else's models and systems, take it, you know, you can find an average. It took, yeah, I didn't see anything for the first, you know, did you find that number somewhere, 8 postcards, or did you make?
Me
that
personally?
Yeah,
No, I've heard
No.
it somewhere here.
Yeah, I feel like I heard something.
is it 8?
Somebody
Okay,
said it.
I know
I
it's
don't remember what
a
it was.
few, I know it's at least a few. You don't usually get one on your first one. That's pretty, especially in a new farm area. But yeah, consistency is key on that. I mean, the McKissicks do a postcard. It goes out to a gigantic area. I think it's, I don't know if it's
Like
monthly.
2,000 is what Tom said, it's like 2,000 postcards, something every month.
It's so expensive though, if you think about it, because I tried doing postcards. Now I did them through Canva. I did 250 postcards. It was like, I think it was like 100. How much was it? 150? More? It was like 120, 30.
Yeah.
But then on top of it, to mail, it's 50 cents a postcard to mail.
So the ones inside of Command, the ones inside of Command come with the postage already added in it, and they print it. So there's a direct mail under campaigns. You can do it that way. You can create custom inside of designs, and then we'll find the sizes and import it, and you can send them out through there. So explore that. If you're doing a smaller one, we're talking probably less than $1 a postcard and they
To mail
print it.
and to print? Okay, that was definitely looking.
Yeah, so it just depends on where you go. It also depends on bulk pricing. So when you're getting into the, she said 2,000, I don't think I ever knew the number of how many went out, but when you're getting into the 2,000, and if you do it right, you can get into the bulk mail. And so then you've got the mail pricing goes down, plus the printing pricing goes down, so it brings the cost per card down. So it just, if you're gonna use that route though, just, yeah, you're gonna have an investment for a little while. You don't normally get, I used to do them for agents, and we do just listed, just sold cards. And we might get a call off. But if you're looking at $100, if you got a call and you've got to, you know, convert that eventually, that's a pretty good $100 spent. But when you start doing your farm area and hitting it pretty hard, later you should start seeing more of a return.
What was the size you read?
The what?
What was the subject line you read?
It can't be done in my market. Yeah. How can, I like the, okay, so now if you think about, okay, it can be done, how do I make it work? Like, that changes things. Instead of just saying, no, I can't make money off of golf.
I think my thing
How
with that
can-
though is, I think I think about how we're supposed to, look at other people and see how they succeeded or how they might have failed or, rip off and repeat in a certain way. And so when we see that a lot of agents have failed doing it that way, it's hard to be like, okay, so then this might work for, do you know what I mean? Like, it's telling you to be different and do things differently, but then it's also telling you, look at other people, other agents' failures.
Because you can look at it and see where they went wrong and not make the exact mistake. Where did they go wrong? Well, they only sent 2 postcards to the same area. So no, it didn't work. Well, it probably didn't work because they didn't follow through. So if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna pick a target area and I'm gonna hit it, 8 times before I go, okay, no, I'm not getting phone calls. Even then, was it your postcard design? Was it a printing issue? It could be a bunch of different reasons. So if somebody is succeeding with it, what's the difference between the person who is succeeding with it and the person who didn't succeed with it? Where's the tweaks there?
There's a lot that goes into that code thing, because, depending on what time of the month you hit them at, if you hit them at the time, let's just say when rent is due, if they're renters and you're targeting buyers, I mean, they're probably thinking about it every time they make their monthly rent payment, like they are paying somebody else's mortgage. So if you were to put that postcard, tired of renting, let's talk about buying or something of that nature, at the time that they're making that rent payment, they're probably thinking like, it's cheaper than this. And it's a good time to talk to them.
You know what I just thought of? I think inside of the direct mail postcards, you can actually target multifamily. So you could do a postcard because you can take them off. Right, you could take off the single families and know you're hitting multifamily properties. Stop making the land original.
I'm currently living in an apartment right now, and I've been wanting to. My mom keeps saying like, "Oh, send a postcard to like your apartment complex," but it's like I don't know if it's like it's almost like me just being in my head. But I think, oh my gosh, these people see me every day, and I really don't want to like leave a postcard at all their doors and be like, "Hey, like I'm a real estate agent, but I live in an apartment," So like it's kind of contradicting. So part of me is just like, oh, like I know it's a good. I have all of I can easily just put it on their doors like quickly, but it's also just like, oh my goodness, they're gonna recognize me, and so it's kind of like what you were saying of like it's a good and a bad to being recognized, like, oh good, like they know her, but oh, why is she in an apartment when she should be at home or something like that. So I was thinking about doing it because I'm moving out of that apartment in like a month or so. And so I was thinking about doing it right before I move out. So it's like, okay, I don't have to worry about it anymore. I won't see you again. But then it's also like I'll have to continue. If I do a postcard, I probably won't get anything out the first one. I'll probably have to continue sending the postcards. I already know their mailing address. It's just they won't be able to have access to like go and put it on the Twitch.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of, I was like, oh.
Number one.
I don't know how I feel you for a loop. That's why I was asking what was the topic.
No,
I felt like I was going somewhere with that, and I just.
All right. That's what these are for.
I can't do it.
I can't do it. Oh yeah, we talked about that one. Yeah, I do that with my daughter all the time. I can't do it. Well, have you tried yet?
Yeah.
Everything is figure outable.
I love that thing, figure out ability. That's like my number one. Don't refer somebody to me for the front desk that doesn't have figure out ability. Like we have 5 people down there and 200 agents, so we all have to have figure out ability.
Yeah.
We are a mega team. So. All right. So the next chapter is part 2, the 4 stages. Looks like it goes from 67 to 94. Is that too big? Do you want to chunk that down?
To 94.
So 94.
94 is in the middle of a chapter, no?
That's this one's called Think on Mine. I've got a leadership version though. So let me see.
I think ours is all the way to.
Oh, it's doing all of the chapters that say think. And then it's changing to the 3 L's of the millionaire real
Yeah,
estate
2 to 3
agent.
L's was around 97.
It's stopping us at 96.
Mine says the difference between a functionary and a fiduciary.
Yep.
So is that where you want us to stop?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's probably a good
So
spot.
that's the last page, 96.
96, yeah.
Mhm.
Scott roll.
Yeah, this one will be around think.
Okay, for 2.
I'll send out the, when I go sit down, I will send out the calendar invite. I realized this morning that I don't think I sent that out, so I will do that.
Okay.
This, as soon as I go sit at my desk, and I'll put the chapter pages in it, so everybody will know.
Okay, awesome.
We don't have a Facebook group, right?
We do, yeah.
Do you?
Katie, we didn't.
No, no, like, I mean, like, book.
For the book club, no, we don't.
I mean, we could, but I don't know if
Or we
we
could
put
have-
too much on it.
Or like, we can like just have like a group or something.
Could do that.
But
You want to create it?
yeah, I can. I'll send everyone.
Okay. Sounds good. All right.
Bye.
All right. If you're going to Bold, it's tomorrow.